What's going on, my fellow A-Plusers? Welcome back once again to a brand new episode. It is I, your Morphinominal host, Adam Perez, certainly coming through for a new episode of A-Plus Morphinominal, your weekly stop for your Power Rangers, Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, Ultraman news and reviews right here on our YouTube page, going live today along with our Facebook page as well, ladies and gentlemen. So from wherever you're certainly watching us today, thank you very much for certainly joining us, guys. It's great to be back in front of the camera. Great to be back in front of all of you certainly watching us. I know we unfortunately did not have a live episode of A-Plus Morphinominal last weekend, but we're back. We're back in the saddle, guys. I got to tell you, it's been just a crazy week. I wind up actually getting back into town from New York City on Tuesday. Had to do a little bit of a catch up in regards to some Zenkaiger news for you guys. Been pulling some strings behind the scenes to try and get some new content certainly headed your way. And guys, now we're certainly back. This has been a rather busy week for me, not only just for A-Plus Morphinominal, but also for A-Plus Hero Report, trying to play some catch up. I forgot that Titans season 3 wind up dropping this week. We got the first 3 episodes that wind up dropping. I believe it was on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. So we're trying to go ahead and knock those out this week. Tomorrow, we've got a live episode of A-Plus Hero Report going live Sunday at noon Central Time also. So I'm really trying to go ahead and catch up on a ton of stuff to kind of keep everybody satisfied, whether that be on our YouTube channels, our Facebook page, or even our Patreon account for some of our supporters, guys. So thank you very much, guys, for certainly joining us. But we're back. It's good to go ahead and kick off my weekend with you guys. Even though, listen, I was gone for about a week or so. It was actually nice to kind of take a little bit of a vacation away from like social media, doing any editing, any recording and things like that. So it was really nice to be able to kind of sit back and recharge the batteries, if you will. And so now that we're back, I've really been trying to do my best to kind of push forward and just continue to bring you guys content each and every week. So it's good to see all your faces, even though I can't see you guys. I'm pretty sure some of you guys are certainly in the live chat. But let me go ahead and give some shout outs to some people that are certainly joining us here today. We got Zachary in the house. Thank you very much. JB Cyberspace. What's up, JB? I'm assuming you changed your name here recently. So good to see you, man. We got AJ in the house also U-Size in here as well. Thank you very much for certainly coming through. Blossom, what's going on, L'Oreal? Good to see your face around here. Also, we got Sarav in the building today. Power Rangers Legacy says, you know what time it is. It's morphin' time. Certainly coming through today. Who else we wind up getting in here? What's up, twin? Adam Perea in the house. And of course, we got Frankie. What's up, Frankie? Thank you very much, man, for certainly coming through. And I'm sure we'll have some stragglers that wind up coming through for the remainder of this episode. And of course, if we have any familiar faces, any new faces, guys, just make them feel part of the family. Certainly make them feel welcome here today, because it's been a minute since we've had the opportunity to actually go live with you guys. JB says this is actually his second YouTube channel. Very nice, man. Juggling multiple YouTube channels is no joke, man. So I certainly hope you're up for it, JB. But loving the name, man. Loving the name. Who else we got? We got Enrique Perez is in the house. Appreciate you coming through. He says, I saw the Zenkaiger O and the Ginga Man gear and Zenkaiger. Yeah, we did a review for Zenkaiger this past week for you guys to certainly check out. It is currently up on our YouTube page. But yeah, the Zenkaiger O continues to be a fan favorite of mine. We got to see a new formation of it this week, and great usage of the Ginga Man gear, if you ask me. I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of necessarily the villain of the week, but I do like some of the other aspects of that week's episode. So guys, thank you very much for certainly joining us. We got Lawrence Harris in the house. What's up, Lawrence? Thank you very much. Good to see you in here also, buddy. So a couple things that I wanted to run by you guys real quick. If you guys have not had the opportunity to check out some of our other videos this week, I did wind up having an announcement for you guys. You guys know we had been doing reaction videos for Gokaiger that we wind up wrapping up last month sometime, if I'm not mistaken. I may still do maybe like 1 or 2 other Gokaiger videos, like as far as in regards to like movies movie reviews and things like that. So stay tuned for that. But the big question certainly has been, what's our next Super Sentai series that we're going to be tackling for you guys? This will, in fact, be made available as early access for our patron supporters, but it still will be made available to our YouTube subscribers and our general audience. But the next Super Sentai series that we decided to go ahead and pick, that you all voted for, or at least majority of you voted for, the series that got the most votes, was in fact going to be Deca Ranger, ladies and gentlemen. Deca Ranger is going to be up to bat. It's going to be available on Patreon, available August 17th. It is part of our $5 a month tier. Not only do you get this video, but you also get our Go Ranger reactions. You also get our audio for all of our shows that we do, early access to our comic book reviews and things like that also. So you don't just get our Deca Ranger reaction for the $5 tier. There are other options in there for you guys to certainly pick from also, but it will be made available for our patron supporters August 17th. And then you guys on our YouTube page will in fact be seeing the very first episode dropping September 7th. So I'm trying to give the patron about maybe 6 to 8 episodes ahead, if you will, to kind of enjoy, excuse me, before we get into it actually premiering on our YouTube page. So August 17th, Patreon, September 7th on YouTube. And outside of that, guys, give me a second. My overlays are like really being sluggish trying to load here. I brought back good old Yoda for my coffee cup. Had to go ahead and make me some coffee this morning to wake my ass up, to say the least. It's actually raining out here in Fort Worth right now. It's gloomy, dark outside. It just started pouring a little bit. So I got my studio light on to kind of help out for this week's episode. Outside of that, I have decided I am going to pull the trigger on this. I've waited long enough. I'm probably still going to work along with the YouTube Live side of things, their YouTube studio, and see how it works along with my OBS studio, because there have been some updates in regards to YouTube, how it certainly works. So I do have to get familiar with it and my OBS studio system once again. I might actually just transition over to StreamYard, or Streamlabs, I should say, in the future. But I've been wanting to do this with you guys for quite some time. It's a Power Ranger series I've been wanting to revisit and tackle and do like a live watch along. And so, ladies and gentlemen, if not this week, then definitely the following week, within the next 2 weeks, we're going to be having some Dino Thunder watch alongs, ladies and gentlemen. We might sit down for 4 episodes apiece. I know that they are made available over on YouTube as of right now. So if anything, we'll probably be watching it directly off of YouTube. So if you guys want to join us, episodes 1 through 4, we're probably going to kick out 4 episodes at a time. If anything, they're usually about like 20, 23 minutes or so. So once we wrap up an episode, maybe I'll give my brief thoughts. Boom, we'll move on to the next episode sort of thing. And this will all be a part of our live watch along. So I am going to be pulling the trigger on Power Rangers Dino Thunder. So feel free to certainly join us as well. That is not for Patreon. That is, in fact, going to be solely for our YouTube page, ladies and gentlemen. So definitely join us then. So we at least have 2 new things that we're going to be bringing to you guys here also. Definitely going to be trying to work on a brand new intro and maybe some theme here for APlus Morphinominal. Trying to pull the trigger when it comes to updating the channel a little bit and continuing to bring you guys some fresh content to look forward to. So I hope you guys are definitely excited for it. And again, right now we currently are also doing a Go Ranger reactions on our Patreon, which is exclusive to just Patreon only. I believe we dropped our episode 1 reaction for you guys as a little bit of a teaser if you want to go ahead and possibly join our Patreon. But we do have Go Ranger going over there simultaneously as well. So we're juggling a ton of reviews, regardless if you don't necessarily see it here on the YouTube page. Make no mistake, there definitely is other content over on our Patreon that we're certainly dropping for you guys. Also, like even the Waku Saver stuff that we were reviewing by Studio Giga, all that is up on our Patreon as well, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, just some channel updates for you guys before we get into our day's episodes and topics. Who else we wind up getting in here today? There are some other names that wind up coming up today. We got Johnny Marrero in the house. What's up, Johnny? Good to certainly see you here for sure. Who else we got? I'm Fat's in the house. Thank you very much for certainly coming through, Fat. We got Jordan in the house. Thank you very much. Yo, good to see you, man. Good to see all your familiar faces again. So thank you very much, guys, for your support and certainly coming through each and every week. Power Rangers Legacy says Dino Thunder episodes on Power Rangers YouTube page. Most recent episode is the one after Trent tricks the Rangers. So yeah, I think they're probably in their double digits, easily their teens by now. So it may not necessarily be like a watch along each and every week, but we'll probably do a watch along each week until we at least get caught up with the Dino Thunder videos. And then once they have dropped another like 4 episodes or something like that, then we'll go back to doing another live watch along once we have 4 brand new episodes and things like that. So it should be fun around here. We used to do watch alongs on APlus Opinions on my other channel quite often. We did a lot of not only Power Rangers, we did a couple Power Ranger movies, which we went ahead and uploaded here up on our YouTube page. And we also did just a bunch of movie watch alongs if you were just big fans of just movies in general. So it was certainly a fun time. But since I've moved and YouTube has updated a lot of its live studio stuff, I haven't had the opportunity to dabble with it just to make sure that I work out all the kinks. But in the next 2 weeks, Dino Thunder watch alongs will certainly be here. And then again, beginning August 17th for our patron, we will in fact be having Deca Ranger reaction videos. Our AJ says, how was New York, Adam, and the flight? Haven't been on the plane already since 2020. I don't know how it's like wearing a mask on the plane. I didn't mind wearing my mask on the plane so much going there. I had 2 flights, one from DFW to Washington. It was like a 2-hour flight, wasn't too bad. Then I had like a brief 1-hour flight from DC to New York, which was super quick. So it wasn't too bad. The flights weren't completely full, so that I didn't necessarily have to worry about. The flight coming back, though, from New York to DFW was like 3 hours. It felt like forever. I was literally stuck in the middle seat, which is just horrendous to say the least, with my mask on. And I'm not a big complainer about wearing my mask, but literally having to wear it for like 3 hours straight, crammed into an airplane and things like that, it was rough, man. It was rough. I'm not going to lie. But my allergies were also acting up too at the same time. So a little bit of a unfortunate event. But other than that, people were pretty cool, pretty chill. Didn't have to worry about knocking anybody out on the airplane, right? Everybody was pretty cordial, stuck to themselves. So I was quite thankful for that, to say the least. But New York was amazing, guys. You know, even though I necessarily went to New York to pay, you know, respects to my grandmother, who certainly passed away in June. We just had like a little memorial luncheon, a little bit of a service for her, just to kind of get all of our family and friends together and things like that. Really moving stuff to be able to see some family members that honestly hadn't seen me since I was a kid. You know, I probably haven't seen some of these people in 10, 15, 20 years even, you know what I mean? So to be able to go back, see all these familiar faces, just be around all that support and love and just remembering my grandmother was absolutely beautiful, man. And not only that, but it's also, you know, I hadn't been to New York in such a long time. And I just thought this was a great opportunity for me to just revisit a lot of places that from my own childhood, from my own stomping grounds, right? We went back to the Bronx, saw my very first, like when we lived in one of the apartment buildings, got the opportunity to go back there, see what my childhood building was like. Like I was living there till I was about like 5 years old. So it was really cool to kind of see how the city has changed, or maybe not changed so much in certain areas. But just to kind of go down memory lane and visit my dad's plot and my grandparents' plot at the cemetery. Hadn't visited the headstone in about maybe 10 years or so. It's been a long time. So it was just a ton of flooded emotions, a ton of great ups and downs. But it was such a great opportunity to reconnect with my family and reform those bonds and stuff. So it was a much needed trip, to say the least. And I feel like where I'm at in my age in life, you know, sometimes those are certain things that you need, you know, to kind of put life back into perspective a little bit more for you. You know what I mean? Not, you know, the world isn't just social media and videos all the time, to kind of reconnect with everybody and just, you know, remember your life. And again, I think it just puts into perspective. There is a big announcement that I certainly have for you guys. I'm not ready to go ahead and reveal it as of yet, but when your life certainly changes and there are big things certainly headed your way, it really does kind of put things into perspective for you. So it was a trip that I certainly needed, one that I didn't think that I needed, but once I actually got there, yeah, man, it was pretty moving. So thank you very much for asking, AJ. But yeah, it was a great time, regardless of the reason why I had to go. Shadow Nova, what's up, Shadow Nova? Good to see you in here. We got Datilla in the house. Thank you very much. Nado's in here also. Thank you very much for certainly coming through. What do you want to see from the non-kid show? A completely different formula from what we've gotten when it comes to Power Rangers already. I definitely want to see a female Red Ranger, if at all possible. I'm okay with like 3 members, 5 members. Just switch it up. I don't necessarily need a villain of the week each and every week. I definitely would love to see some great Megazord battles, but only when it's certainly needed, sort of thing. I don't necessarily like I don't need to be like a classic 90s or 80s cartoon where you get a big old monster or a Megazord battle each week. I don't necessarily need it that way. Focus on some characters, connection to past lore, and just some real life sort of situations and storylines for our characters to really sink their teeth into, instead of the gumdrops and rainbows sort of storyline mentality that we have when it comes to Power Rangers from time to time. So yeah, just a couple quick things now. Those are just things off the top of my head. I have to sit down and really give you a bunch of other details later. Who else we got in here? We got the A Games 10 certainly coming through. Thank you very much for certainly coming through today, man. All right. With that out of the way, let me get a sip of my coffee here. I've prolonged this entrance longer than I certainly wanted to, but I didn't get a chance to see you guys last week, so I had to catch you guys all up as to what's going on in my life. And don't worry, no Yodas were harmed in the production of this coffee cup. We're good. Let's see here. The A Games 10 says, so international spoilers for Dino Fury are on the horizon this year. It's possible multiple countries. Surprisingly interesting. I hadn't seen anything in regards to this. I think somebody did post up to me that Pop TV or some Pop channel was going to be showcasing Power Rangers or Dino Fury beginning in September. I'm assuming, if anything, that's probably going to be starting from episode 1. I don't know if that's going to be like a daily thing that they do. It kind of almost reminds me of like Saturday morning cartoons that they're going to be doing. I think this is a Pop UK, I believe, might have been the channel that they're going to be showcasing Dino Fury. I'm assuming they'll start doing episodes 1 there. If they do 1 episode a week, I mean, that's 11 weeks. I highly doubt that we're going to get any spoilers before then, because we've already seen the first 11 episodes. If it's a daily thing, that I have absolutely no idea, but I haven't heard anything in regards to international spoilers at A Games. So send me a link on YouTube, or not a link on YouTube, on Twitter, if you can, to that source, because I do find that rather interesting. I mean, we're almost towards the end of August here. We also have September right around the corner. I'm pretty sure either Netflix or Nickelodeon will probably get to new episodes before they certainly do. It says France will be getting episode 12 of Dino Fury in the week of September 6th. Possibly even episodes 13 will be shown. Interesting. I mean, who knows? Maybe September 6th is a return date for it to come also on Netflix. I don't know. We'll definitely see, but that's fascinating when we have Netflix available to us already. So this is a weird year, guys. 2021 definitely is going to be a weird year. We kind of thought that there was certainly going to be some confusion when it came to the idea of, are you putting new episodes on Netflix or on Nickelodeon? But now that we got international markets that might be playing new episodes before Netflix or even Nickelodeon does, yeah, the confusion is certainly warranted. But around here we'll be ducking and dodging any international spoilers. I'm not a spoiler guy myself. I like to watch it live when it actually airs here in the States. So I'll definitely be doing my best to get out of the way, and hopefully we'll get a new episode sooner rather than later, guys. All right. With that out of the way, guys, we will be getting into today's topics. We've got about 5 topics that we're going to be breaking down for you guys today. A couple in the world of Power Rangers, some in the world of Tokusatsu, but great topics to certainly say the least. And the first one up is certainly going to be in regards to Power Month, ladies and gentlemen, since we are currently celebrating it right now, 2 weeks in. And I am rather curious to know your guys' perspective on how Power Month has certainly been celebrated. If I could be honest with you guys, week 1, stellar, man. stellar. Was super thrilled as to how Hasbro pulled the trigger when it comes to week one, getting the opportunity to see Lightning Collection pieces, which I think we were all under the impression we certainly were going to get a ton of toy announcements here for Power Month. First week, Lightning Collection, and not just Lightning Collection pieces. Oh no, but the TMNT Power Ranger crossover Lightning Collection, which they had been teasing for quite some time over the past several weeks leading up into this. We were kind of hoping that we would, in fact, get the action figures, maybe even an announcement for a second crossover. We got one of those things, which I was certainly thrilled about in regards to the reveal of the TMNT figures in their Power Ranger modes, which look great in the comic book. Super thrilled that we finally got the opportunity to see them just fully done. Loretta Masters over at Hasbro and the rest of the Hasbro crew has done a remarkable job in regards to bringing these turtles, along with April O'Neil, to life, to certainly say the least. I really do like these. I think they're selling them in combo packs right now. I think it's Donatello and Leonardo together. I believe, I'm not mistaken, I believe it's Raphael and maybe a Tommy Foot Soldier, and then I believe it's Michelangelo and April together. I could be wrong in regards to the combination, but they're currently going for about $54.99. $54.99 a package for a combo pack. So you guys can certainly check them out. They may be available for pre-order. Not sure if they're still available, but definitely go ahead and check them out. Because we didn't get the opportunity to talk about any of these reveals as of last week because I was out of town. But getting to see the final piece, how it all kind of comes together. If you ask me, these look absolutely incredible. I even reached out to Loretta Masters and shouted her out, just told her how amazing of a job she certainly did in regards to these. But I've been wanting to see these kind of come to life, so I'm so thrilled that they certainly did. And we even got ourselves the opportunity to see Shredder in here, which looks fantastic with the dragon shield and things like that, the power up that Shredder wind up getting in the crossover. If you have not had the opportunity to read the crossover event, but you're seeing these figures and you think that they're extremely badass, I recommend you find yourself the crossover event and certainly check it out. So a part of me was hoping that they would also announce a part 2 to the crossover, but unfortunately, they certainly haven't as of yet. So week 1, when it comes to Power Month, they knocked it out of the park. I had such a ton of fun, a great time. Even though I was out of town, I even had the opportunity to sit down and watch live the Fan First Friday that they wind up having for the TMNT collection. Was rather impressed with it. Honestly, a great sit-down conversation with Ryan Parrott, picking his brain, Loretta Masters, just kind of seeing how it evolves from the page to an action figure. And I thought it was just a great sit-down opportunity to listen to Ryan Parrott and the rest of Hasbro talk. So if you missed out on Fan First Friday, again, while it certainly was mostly about the TMNT Lightning Collection stuff, it certainly is worth a tune in if you ask me. So that was, in fact, week 1, ladies and gentlemen. Week 1 was in the books. Week 2, on the other hand, maybe a little bit more lackluster than even I was certainly expecting here. Now, listen, lackluster for me at least, but if you are a big action figure collector and things like that, week 2 might have been right up your alley as we get to see that they celebrated not only the TMNT sort of crossover in week 1, but week 2 was definitely much more focused on retro toys, bringing back the old and making it new again, ladies and gentlemen, as they wind up introducing us to, I think it's a Super 7 Power Ranger action figures, which are like 3.5-inch action figures. They also went ahead and reintroduced us to the retro flip head Power Rangers that were pretty popular back in the day also, but with some brand new designs, even some brand new characters that they were going to be tackling also. For those of you who did miss out on some of the retro Power Ranger flip head stuff, let me go ahead and bring this up to you real quick, because this does come to us from sci-fi.com. I think they actually did an article in regards to this. Yeah, head back to the 90s with the first look at retro Power Ranger figures from Super 7 and Hasbro's. You get to see them here firsthand. So it says, what's old is new again, especially if you're a fan of the OG era of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Though the franchise has been well over a dozen variations at this point, there's just something about those old school suits and Zords, and Sci-Fi has all the intel on some of the new lines of Power Ranger toys and collectibles that tap back into all the nostalgia we still have from Tommy and the rest of the gang. So it does say here, it says directly from Hasbro, Sci-Fi Wire can reveal that fans of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers are getting a whole new wave of retro morphing figures known casually to fans as flip heads. These chunky throwback toys are just like the ones you remember from childhood, including the new wave, which are Tommy in the Green Ranger form, Tommy in the White Ranger form, Trini as the Yellow Ranger, and this one is really good, the Kimberly Ranger Slayer, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, Kimberly's Ranger Slayer certainly has one. I kind of wish that they were able to allow her to have the cape, but with the flip head, it definitely kind of messes that up a little bit. But it says they also revealed the first wave or the second wave of Super 7's MMPR reaction figure series as well. I'm sorry, I said 3.7 inch figures with limited articulation. So these almost remind me of really old, definitely retro, very old school classic figures. But I love the design. You know, I am one for articulation. But when it comes to these type of figures, I'm perfectly okay with it. I feel like there's a lot more great detail when it comes to just the sculpting, the paint work, and the design alone. So those are what I really look forward to when it comes to just the 3.75 inch ones. But here's the flip heads again for you guys. Go on retro mode where you got the Green Ranger, the Ranger Slayer herself, another shot of Tommy as the Green Ranger. This is the Kimberly Hart, where without her mask. And you get to see some actual other photos. Here's the White Ranger one you get to see. I'm assuming, if anything, you have to take maybe the shield off, flip the head, and then put the shield back on. I'm assuming for both of the Tommies, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, retro week to say the least when it comes to flip heads, when it comes to Power Month week 2. So we got some great photos for you there also. So let me say this. I loved week 1. TMNT collection, absolutely great looking. Not a fan of retro week. That's just me. Even though I grew up in this was my era. This was my era. The 80s and 90s were in fact my era. And to be honest with you, I wasn't a fan of these flip heads then. I'm not a fan of these flip heads now. I think they look atrocious. I truly do. That's just me. That's just me. I'm just not a fan of the really big, chunky, bulky sort of design. I get the idea that we're revisiting retro. I would like to see, like, if we're going to get a retro one, I would actually really like to see a more modernized version of the flip head if they possibly can. I feel like maybe we have the technology these days to kind of make the flip head concept a little bit more appealing to the eye, if you will. So again, I was not a big fan of this design growing up as a kid. It's a reason why I never had these type of Power Ranger toys. If anything, one of the toys that I always had was the actual like huge figure of the Power Rangers when they first came out. Ton of articulations from the elbows, the wrists, the fingers. I mean, it was the toy to want back in the day as a kid. I remember asking my parents for, I don't remember, it might have been like a 12, and they had to have been at least like 12 inches because they were actually a pretty decent size. But it was one of those things where back in the day, you wanted one of those as a kid, to say the least. For me, it wound up coming down to, I think I was trying to ask my parents for the Red Ranger because everybody loved Jason back in the day. But unfortunately, when it came to having our parents go out and actually find these toys for Power Rangers, they were like nowhere to be found. My parents came home with Billy, the Blue Ranger. I'm like, what is this shit, Mom? Like, I asked for Jason, you gave me Billy. Like, wow, who wants Billy? Now looking back on it, I definitely don't mind it now, but as a kid, you definitely want the more popular Ranger out of everything. So I kind of wish that maybe they kind of did those figures once again for Power Rangers. If we're going to be doing anything retro, because there were some really other cool retro figures that they certainly could have done, but to decide to go ahead and bring back the flip head, they were ugly then, guys. They're ugly as hell now. And I don't care what color you paint them. I don't care what cool character you certainly have. They're still horrendous to me. But that's just me. That's just me when I certainly look at them. But maybe you guys like them. If you guys certainly like them, hey, don't let me cramp your style here. I certainly hope that you guys are enjoying them. Maybe you've certainly ordered you some of the flip heads. I just feel like, again, there was just so many other cool, great designs, fantastic articulation Power Ranger figures that they could have picked to go ahead and redo for Retro Month. I'm just a little bit bummed that those are the ones that they decided to go ahead and decide to do. So, I was kind of hoping also that, like, while I don't mind the idea of there being a theme a week or something like that, it's one of those things where I also kind of just don't want I kind of would have wanted a little bit more than that, like if we are going to do things retro, maybe multiple things of retro concepts that you're trying to bring back. Maybe, like, is next week going to be video game related? Is it going to be more TV related, more movie themed related? I would have liked to have seen maybe multiple themes highlighted sort of per week, maybe 2 or 3 themes per week that they probably could have pulled off. So it feels very slow paced right now. At week 1, again, I thought we were on a great trajectory. Week 2 definitely feels like it certainly has sort of pumped its brakes. Like, if you ask me, I think week 1 and week 2 probably could have been combined into one entire week. I think you probably could have celebrated the retro concept and the TMNT all within 1 week and have all those announcements kind of drop, and then kind of give us something else, since they are all sort of toy related. But we'll see how they stretch out this Power Month. We'll see exactly what we wind up getting. I'm not going to say it's a complete disappointment yet. It's just been kind of lukewarm for me. Some really great high moments of celebration, and then just kind of waiting by, the wayside. If anything, I guess maybe we could say, well, I haven't picked up the issue yet. It is waiting for me at my comic book store. Mighty Morphin issue number 10 was sort of built up to be a massive issue when it comes to this, right? Ryan Parrott has been talking about it all week. People have been posting their reviews about it all week long. So there is, I guess maybe that is something to kind of celebrate in regards to Power Month. Again, I wish there was just a little bit more. I don't know if that makes me sort of the entitled fan. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm thankful for what we're getting. But I guess the way that it was presented to me in regards to Power Month this year, guys, we're going to have something every week for you guys. I was just kind of hoping that there would be just a little bit more oomph behind it. You know what I mean? But we're not done yet. I'm not going to give it a final verdict as of yet, but it's just been rather lukewarm for me. But I would be kind of curious to know what you guys think. If anything, I think what has made me enjoy Power Month to a certain extent is that I do see a lot of people from other YouTube channels, or at least people that are active when it comes to Twitter, utilizing Power Month as a great opportunity for them to push a lot of more of their reviews forward, or thoughts on certain series and things like that. I have been seeing more people be, kind of use that as a way to celebrate Power Month. And that's pretty cool. But when it comes to Hasbro, I'm definitely looking for a little bit more. So halfway through the month so far, pretty lukewarm. There's a great opportunity here, though, for Hasbro to continue to push forward with some huge announcements as we have 2 more weeks left of this month. I'm still looking forward to a Dino Fury announcement when it in fact returns. So we'll definitely see. But listen, guys, I want to know what you guys have thought so far of Power Month. Has it lived up to your guys' expectations so far? Are you loving what you're seeing from Hasbro with all the announcements that they've been giving? Are you bummed that it's been strictly just toys? Are you waiting for more? Definitely go ahead and let me know your guys' thoughts in regards to Power Month that we've had so far. So I would be kind of curious to know what some of you guys are currently thinking. Let me see if I just looking at some of your guys' comments already. Power Rangers Legacy says, great, more Mighty Morphin stuff. I want other seasons. Geez. Yeah, they're definitely pushing that Mighty Morphin these past 2 weeks for sure. The A Games 10 says week 2 was a week. Yeah, it probably felt like just a normal week. I literally was looking on my feed and I'm like, I haven't seen anything big announced outside of the retro month. And I'm like, okay, all right. Outside of that retro stuff. Ollie, what's up? Ollie coming through says, I love Amelia. Good to see you around here, Ollie. Hope your mom's doing great. Tell your mom I said hi, by the way. Let's see here. Johnny says, TMNT Lightning figures were the best to come out of Power Month so far. Yeah, I definitely agree. The retro week has kind of put me to sleep a little bit. I think I do think that, if you're going to do retro week, let's get all the retro toys out here if that's the case, right? Tackle all the big toys that were retro style back in the 90s and kind of upgrade them a little bit. But again, just to pick the ugliest flip head chunky thing, like it's like a block that you can just bust open somebody's head with. Like, it's just so unappealing to me. Like, I just do not like the flip heads at all. The A game said he tagged me in the source for the France International potential spoilers. Okay, I'll definitely go ahead and check it out. Maybe we'll highlight it before we wrap up all of our stories real quick. Booyakasha! I love Mikey's new upgraded power daggers. Yeah, they're pretty dope, right? Aren't they like power daggers, but they're nunchucks also? I dig it. I dig it. Yusai says, I swear to God, it's so annoying that it's Tommy and the rest of the gang. He wasn't even there day one. This is why I have a problem with marketing and oversaturation of Tommy. JDF is pretty cool, though. I get it. I definitely get it, Yusai. People will just forget about poor Jason. Like, Jason was around first, right, guys? Yeah, no, I get the frustration. I get the frustration. JB says I had a Kim back in the day. Yeah, I think I can't remember what my two options were. I'm trying to remember if the big articulation ones growing up. I want to say I don't think the Green Ranger was available at the time. I think I do remember Jason being my first choice. I can't remember who my second choice was, but yeah, my parents were like, "Look, Adam, this is the only shit we can find." Like like the toy stores were just sold out left and right. I'm sure you had to beat old women, with shopping bags just to try and get these damn toys back in the day. Like the hunting for Power Ranger toys were like Black Friday every day when it came to the popularity of Power Rangers. So yeah, man. Blossom says, Adam, if you still have Billy, can I have him? No, I don't have him anymore. I don't know whatever happened to him, honestly. It's been years. I feel like it's been toys that have either been sold off, lost in storage units that have been auctioned off over the years. Who certainly knows? Tony Robinson's in the house. Thank you very much for certainly coming through. JB says he also had the flip head Zero Ranger 5. Oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Let's see here. Enrique, big fan of the Tommy flip heads for the Green and White Ranger. Yeah, I kind of want to see that a little bit more in person. I actually want to see, like, do you have to take I'm assuming the shield is detachable for you to flip the head and then put the shield kind of back on if you want to. Yeah, so Rob, we're in the same agreement. He says back then the only figures I guess they wanted to have were the Red Ranger and Green Ranger. Yeah, if anything, those were the only ones that really kind of popped out to me. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the yellow and pink maybe had made my list. But growing up, again, I was so young. I just remember my parents bringing home the Blue Ranger. I know, and I'm kind of curious to know what my face of disappointment might have looked like when they brought this home. Like, this isn't what I asked for, guys. But yeah, what can you do? What can you do? Shadow Nova, this Power Ranger has been doo-doo water in my opinion. Not really caring for it at the moment. Yeah, I feel like week 1 had people on the great high, and week 2 was like, damn, if you can drop the ball, talk about dropping the ball. So I definitely have my mixed thoughts. So it doesn't surprise me if some people find Power Month as a disappointment. I'm not I'm not there to call it yet. We still have 2 weeks left, but it has been rather lukewarm since the TMNT stuff. Oh, Power Rangers Legacy. He says, I don't think I'm going to watch Legends of the White Dragon and show JDF. I hate you for making Power Rangers all about you, even toys. Well, listen, I wouldn't blame necessarily JDF on that. If anything, I would blame Saban and whoever decided that JDF was going to be the man to really be sort of the focal point of Power Rangers. JDF has just sort of taken advantage of, the doors that have kind of been open for him. If anything, I think JDF has just provided a ton of great content for Power Ranger fans just sort of over the years and helping Power Rangers to at least continue to be relevant in the general public's eyes to a certain capacity. I mean, granted, while Legends of the White Dragon isn't per se Power Rangers, there definitely is some influence there, clearly, you know what I mean? So if anything, I wouldn't say Power Rangers is all about him. I think there's definitely more, like, it's definitely not on JDF, right? Like JDF that probably doesn't have that sway in forcing Hasbro to make certain figures. If anything, that's more Hasbro that if you have a complaint than anything. So yeah, I would still continue to support JDF. I think he does great work in regards to not only just inspiring people, but also, just continuing to help keep Power Rangers relevant 20 plus years later, sort of thing. But yeah, that's just me though. Usai says, I wonder if they'll do a lightning collection of the Omega Rangers. That is a saucy team with nostalgia crush, but it's fresh. Yeah, I absolutely would love to see this. I do think it will eventually happen. If they've brought in Ranger Slayer over, Lord Draken over, give it some time. The Omega Rangers, I honestly do think will be there before we know it. All right, guys. So thank you very much for all your thoughts in regards to Power Month so far. With that out of the way, though, we will go ahead and move on to our next topic, which is one that I'm really eager for, guys. This past week, I feel like, or maybe the past 2 weeks or so, we've gotten quite a few details in regards to a former Power Ranger video game that unfortunately never happened, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm talking about Project Nomad. That's been getting a ton of buzz as of lately from Jason Bischoff over on Twitter, revealing some amazing concept art, if you personally ask me, and giving us some great details in regards to what it certainly could have been. I don't know if maybe if you've been living under a rock on Twitter or haven't been keeping up with Power Rangers per se, maybe you missed this information, but we're here to go ahead and get you guys all caught up. I used to be a big video game head back in the day. You can ask my friends Jonathan, some of my really close friends Michael. We used to hang out over on the weekends, go over each other's house, play video games all the time. Grew up with a Nintendo, Sega Genesis, Nintendo 64. I grew up with a ton of games. My very first Sony PlayStation was because of the fact that I wanted to go ahead and actually purchase Final Fantasy VII for myself. And I've loved RPGs sort of ever since. Now seeing where video games are today, more open world type of stuff, I'm a huge fan of that. Big fan of first person shooters also. But to be honest with you, my life has just changed so significantly with me focusing a lot more on my YouTube stuff, having a full-time job. I haven't really been able to dabble in video games the way that I certainly used to. And there are some amazing games out there that I definitely would love to get back on board with. This game is one of those games I certainly would have loved to play and could have found myself playing this shit for hours. But for those of you who are unaware as to what Project Nomad is, we'll go through some concept art. We'll go through some information from a couple of articles here to give you further details. So let's go ahead and dive into it, guys. First and foremost, I am going to go ahead and bring up the Jason Bischoff Twitter page because it does give us the opportunity to see some concept art that he certainly had. So let me go ahead and try and pull this up. Give me a second here, guys. My internet is being funky right now. Okay, here we go. Good old Jason Bischoff. He says, let's talk about the 2016 Power Ranger game that never was, Project Nomad. Look at this sweet ass photo, man. Look at this photo. Isn't that sick? I absolutely love the concept art here, man. Getting to see, I'm assuming that's Ninjor up there, or their version of him. Getting to see Trini here, or at least the Yellow Ranger. Looks like we've got Zeo Gold there as well. That looks like that's an Alien Ranger up at the top, and in the middle with the gigantic ass wings. That definitely looks like Goldar to me. But some great stuff here. But so he's got 6 different pieces here. He says, as a video game expat, then at Saban, he says, I had hoped that Boost Dev, an ambitious open world co-op that captured the energy, teamwork, and history of the franchise through a fresh lens. Basically, think of Arkham Rangers or Gotham Knights 5 years before Gotham Knights announcement is what they were trying to go for. Here's another concept art that they actually reveal for us also. So this is 5 years, I think he said, 5 years before the announcement of Gotham Knights. He says, sadly, with such circulating through the studios at the time, there was no bandwidth or budget to support it. What I did have, however, was an invaluable blessing to independently explore, and explore I did. He says, calling on old friends, we built a pitch we wanted to see. While these looks were never intended to be final, I think it's safe to say that we were on to something compelling. And he shouts out Lineage, Carlos Datali, Gerald Singh, and the others who contributed. And here's some other concept art also. We'll definitely go ahead and give you guys an even closer look at some of this concept art, because Carlos did go ahead online and actually post a ton of his work that he was actually doing for this. He says, while in early talks with publishers were favorable, the ultimate time and big shifts in our business saw conversations around Project Nomad peter out. These things totally happen. The industry is built on what could have been. And he gives us more concept art here of Alien Rangers. These things look slick as F, honestly. Like, just the graphic design, incredible work here. Even some of the concept art for an Alpha 4 design, looking pretty stellar here. He says, for now, it's simply, let's simply relish this amazing art and its kick-ass setup. Eltar under occupation, being freed by a myriad of rangers from across the cosmos. And then, yeah, that's one of the photos. So I'm assuming this is what he's talking about. The Battle of Eltar here. Currently under occupation, in the process of being freed by the Rangers. You get to see the T-Rex and the Red Ranger in great form here, honestly. So yeah, guys, some really great stuff from Jason Bischoff to showcase what could have been when it comes to the Power Rangers video game, unfortunately. Let's see here. We also had an article from GameSpot that talked a little bit more about this. It says, Project Nomad, an open world Power Ranger game pitch shown off. It says Jason Bischoff, formerly the director of the global consumer products at Saban Brands and global franchise director at Hasbro, has revealed a pitch for an open world AAA Power Rangers game that he was trying to successfully get off the ground in 2016. He says he tried to pitch the game to Saban's business development department as an ambitious open world co-op adventure that captured the energy, teamwork, lore, and history of the iconic Power Ranger franchise. You know, thinking about that a little bit, like when you go back and you watch the 2017 Power Ranger movie, and that introduction that we get of Zordon as the Red Ranger and the big battle that's sort of taking place on that alien world, I would love to have seen that as like the opening of an open world sort of co-op video game to kind of just thrust yourself in the middle of a battle and just to kind of be thrown and thrusted into that really rich environment and world where you really get to see like just all the alien creatures, all the power sets and stuff. I really would have loved to have seen that built upon in something like this. He says he describes it as basically Power Rangers version of the upcoming Gotham Knights. The game's story would have taken place on Eltar, avatar, Zordon's home planet. With the planet under occupation, it was up to different Power Rangers scattered across the galaxy to free it. He also mentions that they did craft a couple of concept art, which we'll go ahead and get into. It says a couple of different robot companions or alternate designs for Alpha and things like that were certainly drawn. But it says, unfortunately, he says that that was quite a bit going on at Saban at the time, and therefore wasn't enough bandwidth or budget to support this video game endeavor, which is a little bit of a bummer, man. I mean, he says, this all sounds very exciting. It's a shame that the game never materialized for the fans franchise. At least the fighting game Power Rangers Battle of the Grid exists. Bischoff explained that he'll share more info about the project another time in the future. And I hope that when he does share that information with us, I hope it's on the heels of maybe an announcement that there's a potential for it to possibly continue to happen. Like, I still think that because of the fact that it's an open world game, I still think that you probably could still pull this off if they wanted to. I mean, granted, it may not necessarily be, helmed by Saban, but if we've got Battle of the Grid certainly out there, I don't see why we couldn't make room for another Power Ranger game, right? I mean, if Hasbro is certainly out there pushing the idea of reinventing, reimagining Power Rangers and things like that, I think the idea and the concept of something like this to still be able to put out for the fans of the franchise, especially when you're in the process of trying to build it back up. If you're trying to attack Power Rangers in different forms of media, whether that be live action or even animation, right? Who's to say? I mean, they're even doing it RPG style over on Twitch here rather soon when it comes to August. Who's to say that you can't tackle the video game genre also and come up with a fresh new idea here based off of some of the remnant ideas that Jason Bischoff certainly had. While it probably missed this opportunity to happen back in 2016, when it comes to video games and the technology that we have now, yeah, give it to me, guys. I still would honestly love to see something like this actually hit our airwaves when it comes to video games. So let's go ahead and just look at some of the other concept art here, because there's a ton. This is from Carlos Datali, who Jason Bischoff mentions did some of the concept art. He says, concept art that I did for the Nomad project, a Power Ranger World co-op game, type of Arkham style with a futuristic approach, which the Arkham games are just gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. I love the fighting system for those games too, that unfortunately never came to life, which is very sad, but nevertheless, I had a blast designing these guys next to a team of awesome artists. Hope you like it. And so he gives us different renditions of some of the concepts for the Rangers and things like that going forward. Heck, maybe some of these concepts, if they're not going to use them for a video game, maybe they can look at these rather closely and actually give us like a new movie design if they wanted to, maybe utilizing some of Carlos's work to design a brand new slate of costumes for our Rangers. I mean, talk about the idea of upgrading them for a more modernized use. While I personally didn't mind the 2017 Power Ranger costumes, I certainly do think that they could have been significantly better. And there is a part of me that still actually prefers the 1995 costumes even more than the 2017 versions that we wind up getting. And this feels very much like if you were going to bring, say, the 1995 sort of costumes to life once again for, a new Power Rangers, this feels like a very more modernized take on it, and one that I definitely do think that they could probably pull off when it comes to movie wise. But so yeah, some really great concepts here. So let's kind of continue to go here. This is the Green Ranger. You even get to see the idea that when it comes to the faceplate and the mouth covering, both of those kind of move to the side so you can actually see his face whenever he needs to talk, sort of thing. Some really cool concept art here. I definitely like Gold Zeo's maybe the first one better than the second one, mostly just for its helmet purposes, but looking clean, man, just looking clean. Can you imagine just the idea of these characters walking around in this big world? This is a slick Ninja design, to be perfectly. I absolutely love this concept for him. So maybe that wasn't Ninja that we wind up seeing. Here's a Goldar form also, just looking badass. I really would have loved to have seen what these guys look like in in video game form. Just where we're at technology wise, even the Silver Ranger looks amazing. I probably would have preferred option number 2 or 3, even though they all look good for the Silver Ranger in here. Alien Rangers look absolutely slick. I don't know what type of engine they were. Is this the Unreal Engine that they probably would have used? I'm not quite sure for the video game, but man, this stuff looks great. Great showcase of size when it comes to the Rangers' height in comparison to what their Zords certainly would have looked like. This feels a little bit more in lines with the 2017 T-Rex Zord that we wind up getting. Really great concept stuff here. And here's some of the weapons design as well. The power sword, you got the dragon dagger and stuff, things like that. The power blaster. Like, I do wonder, like, if some of these were like, even though they had sword designs, right? Who's to say like this one couldn't have been the first sword that you get, and as you progress through the game, like maybe these are some of the upcoming like power ups to upgrade your sword design, or even like your blaster design and things like that. I was a huge fan of the video game Mass Effect. I played the first 2 Mass Effect games, and when I think of Mass Effect, you know, even though I feel like it certainly got more open world as the video games progressed, these are some great concepts and designs that I feel like might have even have been pulled from a game like Mass Effect. I really would love to have seen these. So, you know, I'm kind of curious. I do wonder, you know, if despite this not happening, if there is a future in this happening or not. You know, I don't know when it comes to the idea of pitching sort of a video game concept, if, you know, once it's pitched, if it can never be used again, or maybe a lot of these people that, you know, had something to do with putting this project together, you know, might have moved on to other and bigger, better things in their career, or whatever the case may be. But this is something I really would love to see Hasbro try and just kind of revisit and see if they can kind of make work again. I mean, I feel like even though I haven't played the Battle for the Grid, I feel like it's still popular enough to where people are still playing the game after it's been out all this time. They continue to add sort of new characters left and right from time to time. So I personally feel like if they wanted to, if people are reacting that way to that type of video game, I don't see why a Power Ranger video game wouldn't be just as successful, especially if you've pushed the envelope, right? I mean, you've got 20 plus years of Power Ranger lore to certainly go ahead and work with. I mean, we see what even Ryan Parrott is doing just comic book wise, of connecting all the pieces, right? And kind of tapping into the lore of things. The idea of having an open world sort of video game that you can play either by yourself, maybe with one other person. Who knows? Maybe make it like an online game and have like a multiplayer group of like your group of Rangers, right? Like you and 5 friends kind of get together and form your own Power Ranger team if you want to, and kind of push forward with a great story arc where you do have, you can travel from planet to planet, or there's connective pieces to other past Power Ranger teams and things like that. I would eat that shit up in a heartbeat. I absolutely would. So a little bit disappointed that things just kind of got lost in the shuffle of, I'm assuming, maybe Saban and Hasbro purchase, or just maybe how the whole entire franchise itself, its direction that it was certainly going in back then. Because I do think that there definitely is an appetite for this out there. And so who knows, maybe the idea of this sort of stuff leaking and being thrown out there, maybe it's a litmus test. Maybe it's a way for Hasbro and other companies to kind of see how the fan base is certainly reacting to something like this. And if they feel like there's enough positive feedback in regards to it, maybe it gives them the thumbs up to, maybe we should continue to kind of progress with this a little bit more and see what we can actually kind of make happen. I'm all here for fighting games. I feel like it definitely, the Battle of the Grid fits what Power Rangers is. But again, when you've got 20 plus years of history and lore, to be able to kind of tap into that in an open world video game, I think is a great opportunity there. So I'm hoping that Hasbro's listening seeing some of the fan reaction and decides that, you know what, if we really want to fully take advantage of this franchise, maybe we should continue to dabble in the video game realm in other ways as well, because I do think that there is a hunger for this out there. So guys, I want to know your thoughts. And I feel like, especially when it comes to open world stuff these days, I feel like that's what fans love. They love to be able to know that they can kind of explore, don't really have anything that's confining them and things like that. I mean, I'm sure some people still like their traditional linear storytelling, but I just think when it comes to a franchise like Power Rangers, that type of stuff probably is made for very much more open world activities. So I'm kind of curious to know what you guys think. You see some of the concept art here from Project Nomad. Unfortunately, not a game that we were able to see, but is it something that you still would like to see? I would be kind of curious to see if that's a possibility, because I will say this, I remember Kyle Higgins talking about the idea that he had pitched a Lord Draken series, live action series back in the day. And I still was under the impression that it's something that they certainly could have done. But when I mentioned it on our Twitter, I remember Kyle making a reference or making a remark to it, saying, unfortunately that ship has kind of sailed, like there's no other plans to kind of go forward with it. Like, I do wonder if that's the same concept here with Project Nomad. Like, hey, this is something we thought about years ago. We haven't really tapped into it since. We've moved on to bigger and better things. But I do wonder, like, is there an opportunity to kind of bring this back? Like, why put this out in the world to show people if maybe you didn't want to kind of bring it back, right? Like, so I don't really know how to feel about it. I do want it. I do want it. But maybe this is just a way to celebrate Power Month also, to be like, since everybody's celebrating Power Rangers, let's at least show them some concept stuff of what we were certainly working on in the past. But Jason, if you guys can make this happen, if you guys are looking at the positive reception that Project Nomad has gotten now that fans have sort of gotten its eyes on it, please make this happen. Please make this happen. I would absolutely pick this up in a heartbeat. Have this pre-ordered at GameStop like that, and certainly ready to go. I mean, hell, give me a package for, hey, if I buy the video game for $100, I not only get a video game, but I get this big ass Tyrannosaurus Rex as a statue. Sign me up, man. Sign me up. I'll eat that shit up in a heartbeat. So I want to know your guys' thoughts. Project Nomad, video game we didn't get the opportunity to see. Would you still like to see it? Do you think there's a possibility that this can happen, or are you just loving going down memory lane and what could have been? Definitely go ahead and let me know your guys' thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below. JB says, I would like that, since I already love Battle for the Grid. Yeah, I feel like Battle for the Grid it's been around a while, continuing to upload new characters. People seem to really enjoy it, to certainly say the least. Maybe video games is something that they truly need to tackle a little bit harder, especially when you got a great concept like that also. So Rob says maybe Hasbro could revive this game. I'm hoping so. I really am hoping that this is like a litmus test to kind of see how people are reacting to it. And if it gets enough positive buzz, maybe it's something that they'll pull the trigger on. But I'm not quite sure yet. What's up, Brian? Good to see you in here. Thank you very much, man, for certainly coming through. I'm doing good. Thank you for asking. He says this would have carried more potential for storytelling in ways that the show couldn't have. I absolutely agree with you. Just storytelling purposes, the type of tone and the vibe that you kind of set from the particular story could really sort of separate itself from that of Power Rangers, from the Power Rangers television show. If anything, probably feel more like in lines with the Power Ranger comic books in regards to how in depth when it comes to some character development and things like that. And another great way to build off of Power Ranger lore and just continue to make it grow even more than that. So yeah, some really great storytelling potential in here for sure. Merlzy, what's up, Merlzy? He says tired of the 2D fighting layout, so he would love the idea of this open world. I definitely understand that too, man. Definitely understand that too. So Rob says this kind of reminds me of the stuff we saw in the 2017 movie. Yeah, some of the concept kind of does hint towards that. Like I do wonder if there were any ideas sort of taken off from that concept to make the 2017 movie. Like especially when it comes to the Zord, the T-Rex to me, I was like, oh, that looks like it was just right out of the movie. Power Rangers Legacy says, no thanks, Project Nomad. I'm completely over MMPR of any fashion. That's crazy, Power Rangers Legacy. I mean, listen, I get the idea of like, being over MMPR, but like the idea of like wanting to miss out on just great storytelling, right? Like just because it has the makeshift of like MMPR designs. I mean, listen, it's not just MMPR though, right? Like we also saw Ninjor in there. We also saw Alien Rangers in there, right? So there is a lot to certainly build off of this, and it may not necessarily have even been, say, our traditional Power Rangers for all we know, right? It could have been another team of Power Rangers, maybe not the Jason, Zach, Trini, Kimberly, Billy sort of team, right? It could have been like any older team of Power Rangers that might have held that particular power at some point in time that we could be playing as characters. So I think the idea of just sticking like, oh, it's still got the same MMPR style suits. I think you really miss out on the potential of having some really great characters fill those suits, really great storylines that help build the Power Ranger lore, whether that be from Zordon of Eltar or a more Rita storyline, more Zed storyline. Maybe some of these connective tissues from the lore might build off of like Lost Galaxy Rangers or like Time Force Rangers sort of thing. So I just think the idea of just completely blanking it out because of MMPR, I think you're missing out on a lot of stuff, Power Rangers Legacy, in regards to that. I think the potential for storytelling in here could be incredible if you ask me. And granted, yes, I do know that they are technically still Alien Rangers and Ninjor, but what I'm saying is this doesn't necessarily mean it's the same classic characters from MMPR that we grew up knowing as kids and things like that. I think there's just so much more, but just to kind of put on blinders because it's MMPR, I think that's just missing out on a ton of potential when it comes to storytelling, my guy. So it's a bummer, man. Ali says Kai's birthday's next week. Hunter's was 1 week ago. If only Dino Fury came back for their B days. Yeah, possibly. That would I'm sure they would absolutely love that type of stuff. But all right, guys, let me know your thoughts in regards to the Project Nomad stuff. Is some of the concept art rather compelling to you that you certainly want to see it again? Definitely go ahead and let me know your guys' thoughts. All right, guys, and with that out of the way, we will transition over to some Tokusatsu news here, but it's a little bit of Tokusatsu, a little bit of, or I should say, a little bit of Kamen Rider, a little bit of current movies. As just recently, we wind up having James Gunn revealed his brand new movie and the Suicide Squad, a brand new DC movie that went ahead and dropped not only in theaters but also on HBO Max last week, which I was a huge fan of. I absolutely loved the Suicide Squad. Really big fan of it. Probably I'm getting an opportunity to go ahead and see it a second time. I watched it on HBO Max. But getting the opportunity to watch it in theaters later on this evening that I'm really pumped and excited about. So James Gunn has been making the rounds in regards to promoting the Suicide Squad, and in this past week, in regards to promoting his work, Joe over from the Illuminati got the opportunity to sit down with James Gunn himself and actually interview him, not only asking him questions about the Suicide Squad, but also diving into James Gunn's love of Kamen Rider, because James Gunn has not been silent in regards to his love on Kamen Rider when it comes to Twitter. He's definitely made a couple of tweets showcasing his love not only for Kamen Rider but for Ultraman as well, and how it certainly has influenced him sort of over the years. So I thought this would be pretty fun to kind of get the opportunity to sit down and listen to him talk about Kamen Rider just a little bit in the process of him promoting his Suicide Squad stuff. So this article actually comes to us. Let me go ahead and pull this down real quick. This article actually comes to us from tokunation.com. Let me make sure I got that I can hear this stuff too. So hold on one second, guys. I just want to make sure my volume and everything's working okay for me. My computer's just lagging today, man. I hate. Here we go. Okay. So let's see here. So this is from Toku Nation. Critically acclaimed director James Gunn from Guardians of the Galaxy and the Suicide Squad recently sat down with Joseph Deckelmeyer for a question and answer session on a recently released Suicide Squad movie. During the interview, James Gunn was gracious enough to answer a couple of questions regarding his love of Kamen Rider. So again, this is from Joe from the Illuminati, getting an opportunity to sit down with James Gunn himself. We'll talk about a great opportunity, man. I mean, for me, the joy of this interview alone purely comes from the idea of just seeing how happy freaking Joe is. The big old smirk on his face. Thrilled to be able to get an opportunity to interview somebody like James Gunn. Are you kidding me? But not only that, but also just talking about some of the fan favorite stuff that we absolutely love around here in Tokusatsu. The fact that James Gunn is so connected to the franchise is pretty incredible. So it says, Joe says, Toku fans, go see the Suicide Squad. There's some cinematic shout outs for his love of the genre. And then, yeah, you got the full interview. But here's a 2-minute clip from this also. I wonder if it's even, am I even sharing? Hold on, let me just double check. Like, I want to see, like, am I sharing the audio? Hold on a second. Let me just double check this because I don't even know if I'm sharing the audio or not. Hold on. Share screen. Ah, there we go. Share audio. That's what I'm looking for, baby. Yeah, there we go. I got it. Sorry about that, Jerry. Yeah, I was playing and I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. I don't necessarily even know if I've got the volume on. Here we go.
And I'm a huge Kamen Rider fan.
You guys should be able to hear it now.
Anniversary. 2 questions. What's your season of Kamen Rider? And would you be interested in possibly doing something to maybe get American eyes on the Kamen Rider franchise?
Well, I like the original series of the Kamen Rider is like just the greatest. And there's something about the aesthetic of all of that stuff. You know, Kamen Rider, I also love Ultraman. I think that I don't, I tweet about them all the time. So I like people to be able to be aware of that. But I love that aesthetic. And truthfully, that aesthetic is something that influenced me a lot. You know, I love old, I love the kaiju movies. I love old, Hong Kong action films. And so there's a lots of bits of Asian cinema that have influenced me a lot more than most American cinema. And that's in the Suicide Squad.
Right.
It's just that sense of craziness and fun, but also sincerity. Not doing it as like, hey, this is a joke on you. We're doing this as a joke. It's not that. It's sincere. And that's what the Suicide Squad is.
Team and Kamen Rider.
So that's just the first part. But I absolutely love this video because I love just getting an opportunity to see just directors or just even those that create movies to see like where some of their influences certainly came from. Shout out to James Gunn for loving the first season of Kamen Rider. Probably something that he probably watched growing up as a kid that he found himself in. Falling in love with, but you clearly get to see just how it certainly has influenced them, not just the aesthetics, but the idea of like kaiju movies, which the Suicide Squad movie certainly does have its own sort of kaiju in it that you've certainly have seen from just the trailers alone. So for him to be able to kind of bring over his the influences that he's wind up getting from Kamen Rider or even Ultraman and how it's presented. He even mentions the idea of sort of its sincerity alone and kind of bring that into the Suicide Squad movie. I think is absolutely brilliant, to certainly say the least. And I think when it comes to somebody like a James Gunn, where people pay attention to the things that he says, right? When Joe asks him, what are some of the things that you feel like you can do to kind of help bring Kamen Rider more, to have more awareness to US fans? The idea alone that even freaking James Gunn is even tweeting about Ultraman and Kamen Rider. For some fans, while it may not be like a million fans are all of a sudden going to go out and start checking out Kamen Rider and Ultraman, if you can get 10 people, if you can get 100 fans to be curious enough to kind of see, oh, wow, well, Kamen Rider kind of influenced, James Gunn in his career. Let me go ahead and check out this first season of Kamen Rider or check out a season of Ultraman and kind of see what he's certainly referring to. I absolutely love it. So the idea of James Gunn just mentioning it certainly does bring great awareness to it. But let's go ahead and finish this off.
Rider at Bandai are trying to make its way to the U.S. market here. Do you think there's an audience for Kamen Rider?
Absolutely. I mean, listen, for sure. I think that there's something innately beautiful and magical about Kamen Rider. So I think that people could definitely be into that if it was presented to them in the right way and through the right. And listen, one of the great things about streaming services today is that people are able to see TV shows and things from other cultures. Like people are able, like I had to work really hard as a young man. I had to go down and buy bootleg Hong Kong, videotapes. I did this.
Yo, the fact that I love that he mentions that, right? The idea that, listen, we live in the world of streaming services, you got to utilize that type of stuff if you truly want to bring your content from overseas here into the States. I mean, we know that Toei's in a huge push right now when it comes to Kamen Rider to try and make it more internationally. I mean, they've got a simulcast deal, I believe, with the upcoming animated series that they're doing, Fudo P, which is like the sequel to Kamen Rider W. They're teaming up with Funimation to go ahead and bring that to us. That's a great first step in regards to having international markets become aware of your series. But I love the fact that he says, look, it's so much easier nowadays compared to us growing up. Now, granted, I think James Gunn's probably a little bit older than me, but like the idea for me, like growing up as a fan of like Dragon Ball Z, right? Even though they eventually started showcasing it on like Cartoon Network, I believe at some point in time growing up as a kid, they started highlighting it there. If you honestly wanted to watch the Dragon Ball Z series in any other way, me and my friends literally had to go and travel to Chinatown over in New York City, find these Japanese spots, right? And find like these bootleg video, like VHS tapes. The quality was grainy as F. It was just not the best quality, but it were all in Japanese, English subtitles. And you got the opportunity to see this stuff sort of firsthand before, the American audiences got their hands on it, or it became available on an episode of Cartoon Network. So the idea of like how it was back in the day in trying to get American audiences familiar with some of other international properties, so much harder back in the day than it certainly is now. Now it's just on a platter for you, waiting for you to take advantage of it. And so I'm glad that James Gunn certainly brings that up here.
For years and years. I had a collection of, hundreds of Hong Kong movies that were never released in the United States. And I had them on videotape, and that's where I learned how to make movies, was from those things. Mm. So being able to more easily access, movies from other cultures is a great thing for the world because it helps you understand other cultures. But it also allows you to appreciate things that just haven't grown. And one of the great things about Asian cinema in general, not just Japanese.
Oh, he cut it off short. Damn it. I really I'm definitely going to have to check out the whole video. There is a YouTube link here if you guys want to go ahead and check it out. But if you want to find it, it is off of Joseph Deckelmeyer's, his at Joe Illuminati. It looks like this was posted August 5th at 5:07 p.m. So there is a link here also if you guys want to go ahead and fully check out the interview itself, because he definitely continues to go on and certainly talk about it. But I'm so glad that James Gunn at least brings up the concept and the idea that, look, we live in the world now where social media gives us access to so many other international television shows that we never probably would have watched at any other particular point in time. So I think right now, more than ever, if Toei truly does want to go ahead and bring Kamen Rider over to the States, this is a perfect opportunity for it, right? We already know that they've got Shin Kamen Rider in development movie-wise, that I do believe that they probably will try and maybe bring over to the States. At least I'm keeping my fingers crossed. They also have Kamen Rider Black that they're going to be doing, also a much more adult or modern adult version of the show. These are the type of things that, if Toei truly wants to make this stuff more accessible, start attaching it to some streaming services, whether that be Netflix, whether that be Amazon, whether that be Hulu, if you will. There's really like no excuse at this point that if you really want to start reaching out to a more international fan base, there's really no excuse not to do something along those lines. Like, don't get me wrong, like Pluto TV, Tokusatsu, those are great and all, but when you're trying to really get to the eyes of millions of viewers, I think there definitely is something out there that fans, who aren't familiar with Kamen Rider could certainly enjoy. I mean, we live in a world now where superheroes and any of those type of concepts really rule the world. And if you could find something really unique in Kamen Rider, that while, tried to have its success back in the 90s, I do think it probably could find itself having even more success nowadays, with there being a hunger for new content just like this, right? And again, I love the fact that he also says the idea that it allows you to not only see how other culture does their cinema, but also kind of learn about other cultures as well, all at the same time. So having a spokesperson like James Gunn for Kamen Rider, I think does nothing but certainly help its further development into eventually being here in the U.S. market. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. Great interview, Joe, to certainly say the least. A little bit jealous, but I think that's incredible that he got the opportunity to interview him and at least have him highlight just something, especially as a Power Ranger fan or a Tokusatsu fan, hearing James Gunn talk about it and just see how much it's actually influenced him. The fact that, having a lot of those Hong Kong and Asian cinema really kind of be the first sort of things that helped form his own way of filmmaking, I definitely think goes a long, long way. So hopefully one day, guys, Kamen Rider, maybe like Ultraman, that simulcasts here over in YouTube, right? Maybe it'll get just as big of a platform, and they'll be able to kind of do that also. So, but Toei and Tsuburaya Productions handle themselves completely differently. Ultraman clearly doesn't mind the idea of its IP sort of being out there in the world. Toei definitely has been very much more hands-on, wanting to hold stuff back and maybe trickle things out slowly. But yeah, man, we're getting into a day and age where everything is becoming easily accessible, sort of thing. So take advantage of it. If James Gunn is saying use streaming services to your advantage, he might be certainly onto something here. So I'm really excited to kind of see what we wind up getting in that regards. But guys, listen, I want to know your thoughts. What did you guys think of this small little interview that we wind up having with James Gunn? Thanks to Joe from Illuminati. I definitely want to go ahead and know your guys' thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, guys. Let's see here. Who else we got? Who else wound up popping up in here? We got Scott. Thank you very much, Scott. I appreciate you certainly coming through. Power Rangers Legacy is just me, but I can see Hasbro giving up Power Rangers in 10 years, seeing how they treat the franchise right now with MMPR. Man, you're focused. I feel like you're definitely focused on this MMPR stuff. Listen, I get the idea of people pushing back on the MMPR, but listen, MMPR sells. I'm sure Hasbro's making a ton of money. While fans are out here complaining about MMPR, Hasbro's rolling in the dough, because the same people that complain about MMPR are the same people that continue to buy the MMPR merchandise and can't say no to it. Nostalgia is a powerful drug, ladies and gentlemen. Granted, Hasbro could give up on Power Rangers in 10 years, but when you're investing $500+ million into a franchise, when you're reimagining and rebooting a franchise and trying to put your own spin and vision on things, I feel like that's more than a 10-year, thing, but we'll see what happens. We'll definitely have to see what happens. What else we got here? Brian says, is Kamen Rider Zio and 01 coming to the USA? I believe 01 might be. I want to say that I thought they were going to be simulcast, not simulcast, but I thought I saw somewhere that they were going to be broadcast somewhere else. I know the Blu-ray is coming out soon, if it hasn't already, for 01, but I thought I read somewhere that it was going to be like reshown here, perhaps in the States. So I'll have to double check that, Brian, but I believe we might have talked about that once here. Like, we might have talked about that once before. Yusai says, I can see James Gunn tackling his take on Kamen Rider. It would be sick. Yeah, I was just thinking that myself. Like, if they ever wanted to do a revamped version of Kamen Rider or bring Kamen Rider available to the States, I would love to see what James Gunn would certainly do with something like that. I truly do. I mean, just seeing what he was able to do with Suicide Squad. Granted, I don't know if Toei or anybody else would really kind of give him the same leeway that they certainly did when it comes to the Suicide Squad, but just based off of some of his past movies, I think Kamen Rider would be right up his alley. I would love to get the opportunity to see that. Adam says, sorry, Adam, for asking, how did you and your lady meet? Did she go with you to New York City? No, she did not go with me to New York City. It was just me and the family, unfortunately. I really wish I certainly could have. It was a little bit of a last minute sort of trip, with ticket prices being so expensive. Like, literally, I think I purchased my ticket like 3 weeks to a month before I had to go. And I wound up having to drop like $395. Just on my round trip ticket to New York and back. So definitely expensive, and just didn't have that type of money just randomly laying around for not just my ticket, but for her also. But as far as me and the lady, we actually met off of, we definitely met online. It might have been off of Match.com or Plenty of Fish. I can't even remember, honestly. But yeah, we actually met through one of the websites online. And yeah, we've been inseparable since then, man. Just a lot in common. Yeah, it just worked out for us. So yeah, guys, there's love out there for everybody. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Let's see here. All right, guys. And with that out of the way, we've got 2 more topics that we're going to be talking for you guys. We'll probably get through these rather briefly, but I thought that would be pretty fun to go ahead and highlight. My girl, Yodonna, is back in the news, ladies and gentlemen. If you're big Kamen fans, Yodonna, I think, surprised many of us as one of the villains for that particular season. She's actually become quite a fan favorite, I feel like, for some people when it comes to Kamen. Definitely somebody that I have definitely enjoyed from that season. But this past week, I think maybe this past week or just recently, they actually had the Kamen spinoff for the Yodonna special that wind up dropping. I believe it wind up dropping already. I have not had the opportunity to personally check it out myself, even though it is something that I am certainly looking forward to. But I'm assuming people enjoyed the first one so incredibly much that they now want a second one. Apparently, a second Yodonna special is definitely happening, which I certainly was not expecting. I thought this was going to be just a little bit of a one-off. I don't know if it was always originally planned to be a 2-parter or whatever the case may be, but it's now a second one. We're now getting ourselves a second one, ladies and gentlemen, which is trippy, to be perfectly honest with you. But let's go ahead and highlight this a little bit and just learn about what is going on with this. So this comes to us from the Tokusatsu network, saying that a Yodonna 2 special and a special event has, in fact, been announced for Yodonna. She's just continuing to get more and more praise. It says a sequel to the Yodonna special has been announced and will premiere on September 12th. And an event for this special will be held September 4th. So it says, following Yodonna, a Toei Tokusatsu fan club special featuring Kamen villain Yodonna, Toei has announced the sequel special, Yodonna 2. It will also premiere on the Toei Tokusatsu fan club app beginning April 12th, but a special event will be held on September 14th, celebrating both specials. It says it's going to be held in Tokyo at the Niso Hall. It'll include screenings of both specials, a stage greeting from the actors, and a photo session as well. So they're going to be playing at the event. They're going to be playing both episodes back to back. And then it winds up giving like ticket details and things like that. I actually went online. I tried to find the Toei Tokusatsu fan club app, but it's not available here in our region. I think it wind up pulling up. So I wasn't able to actually watch the Yodonna special the way that I certainly wanted to. If you guys have had the opportunity to check out the Yodonna special, if you know where a brother can certainly find it at, please go ahead and let me know, whether that's a link in the comment section box below, maybe a link in the live chat, whatever the case may be. I definitely want to check out the first one because of the fact that now they've got themselves a second one. It feels very much like maybe this was planned all along. The fact that they're ready to release it in September, either that or maybe they're just very easy to and very quick to kind of film. Maybe they're not asking too much of these particular specials. So maybe they don't have to go too deep into sort of post-production to kind of get these shows or specials kind of put together. But clearly the Yodonna special alone was popular enough to go ahead and warrant a sequel. So now we're going to be getting the second one as of September 12th, ladies and gentlemen. So if you've had the opportunity to check out the Yodonna special, please go ahead and let me know your thoughts. I'm just a big fan of hers. I think she's gorgeous, to say the least. Great actress. And I'm kind of fascinated to kind of see what else they do with her, besides putting her in like a maid's outfit. I'm really hoping that there's at least some substance to this series or this little special, but who certainly knows. But I'm definitely eager to check it out. Once I do get the opportunity to check it out, I'm sure I'll certainly go ahead and talk about it. But yeah, Yodonna special out quick. Clearly a success, and now a Yodonna 2 coming in September. So definitely go ahead and look out for that, guys. So interesting development in regards to Yodonna. I was not expecting her to get all this type of shine and praise that she has after Kamen, even though it doesn't surprise me. It does not surprise me at all. But yeah, I definitely want to know your guys' thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. Yusai says, Yodonna is fire. Take all of the villain gross demon side of her out. She's fire. And my boy Tommy Tomo knew the vibe when he saw her. She's bad in all the best ways. I could not agree more. I could not agree more. Blossom Kakihari stole my man. Hashtag Kakihara is a bimbo. That's yeah. I definitely know your feelings. I am kind of curious if that means that Kakihara, if she's gonna be in the Yodonna 2 special as well or not. But I definitely was not expecting to see that at all. Mike Knight, what's up, Mike Knight? He says, "What's up, Adam? How's it going, man? Got us good Toku news." Yeah, I got some pretty interesting stuff here this week. Definitely. Let's see here. Blossom says the spinoff happened already. Yeah, I believe so. I want to say it was like, I want to say it was this week or maybe it was last week. But I believe it already happened. So it's a little bit of a bummer that I haven't had the opportunity to check it out yet. I really do want to check it out and just see what it's all about. It could just be a complete waste of time for all I know, but I feel it's worth checking out considering the fact that I was such a big fan of hers after Kamen. Going back to the project Nomad stuff real quick here. Yusai says, as for Project Nomad, it could have been sick. I truly believe that the game could have been insane. A nice narrative would have been welcomed, and the co-op would have been amazing. Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. The potential is absurd. The fact that they weren't able to take advantage of it just based off of everything that was happening, all the moving parts behind the scenes. It sucks that it wind up sort of getting lost in the transition. But again, if it's being brought to our attention now and Hasbro's paying attention to the reception of it, I hope that they're paying attention so where they can maybe bring it back and pump some blood into it and, bring it back to life. AJ says, Waku Saver over when you check the official YouTube channel, only episodes 1 through 6. I only counted episodes 1 through 5. I didn't even see episode 6 up there. I think the last one that I tackled was episode 5, which was Pink Earth, if I'm not mistaken, her episode. And I think after that, it just fell off. It left in like a really weird cliffhanger sort of thing. I was really hoping to see kind of more, but I think it might be over. I mean, I feel like I went to the Studio Giga YouTube page and I see episodes 1 through 5 posted, and then I see like the main theme song posted, and then from there they sort of are jumping into a brand new trailer that they wind up dropping. And so that's actually a really great sort of way to lean into our next topic, AJ. So thank you very much for breaking it up. But, for those of you who have not had the opportunity to check out Waku Saver, Waku Saver was, in fact, a Tokusatsu series that was brought to us by a very obscure sort of adult film studio in the name of Studio Giga. Now, they have tapped into Tokusatsu elements before, but again, based off of really just adult-themed kind of videos, if you know what I'm saying. So to kind of see them tackle a Tokusatsu series for themselves, a small little mini series. I believe it was supposed to be 1 to 6 episodes long, but I could be wrong. Maybe it was meant to be 1 to 5, and hopefully maybe they have plans for, say, a second season. I'm not quite sure. But they decided to tackle Tokusatsu in a more serious manner with the series by the name of Waku Saver. We have reviewed Waku Saver. It is currently only available exclusively on our Patreon for our patron supporters. But to be honest with you, it was a very promising season. There were definitely some things that I really enjoyed that I wanted to see explored a little bit more. Some other concepts that really fell by the wayside that I wasn't necessarily the big fan of. So it was a little bit of a mixed bag, but a lot of true potential when it comes to the Waku Saver series itself. And the one thing that I always said was, if Studio Giga really wanted to get serious and really push another Tokusatsu series, I honestly wouldn't mind it. I definitely would like to see just their continued growth and to see what they're capable of outside of just the adult film sort of business. And Waku Saver certainly was it definitely had its elements of the adult film stuff, right? Like, I believe that they mentioned that they were going to release Waku Saver in 2 forms. You had the side A, which was going to be, available for people to watch over on its YouTube page, no censorship and things like that. They got the classic teases like upskirt shots, maybe a butt shot here or there type of thing, right? For you perverts and things like that out there. And then they also mentioned the idea that they also would be releasing Waku Saver as a side B, which would have the more sort of adult elements kind of mixed in with the series sort of itself, if you will. But we reviewed the side A stuff. I haven't dabbled in the side B whatsoever. So based off of what I was able to see, something certainly promising when it comes to Studio Giga. The reason why I bring this up this week is this week, they actually went ahead and announced that they have a new project in the works, ladies and gentlemen. Introducing Dinnovator. That's right, guys. Dinnovator. Going back to the more traditional sort of metal heroes, if you will, not so much Super Sentai elements, but definitely dabbling a little bit more in the metal hero side of things, which I found to be pretty interesting, to certainly say the least. The costumes look clean. If there was anything from Waku Saver, I really appreciate it. It was definitely the costumes and the suit designs and things like that. Really stellar, if you ask me. Just incredibly clean. But this information actually comes to us. Let me go ahead and bring this up. This was from Twitter just recently from @Sentai5, introducing us. It says Juko Tokuso Dinnovator opening credits from Giga, the same company that did Waku Saver. They're doing a B-Fighter / Metal Hero inspired show, and it drops on their channel next Friday, guys. So this upcoming Friday, episode 1 of Dinnovator is certainly going to be there. Let me go ahead and pull this up here. You know what? Let me stop this real quick because I want to bring up the audio so you guys can see the trailer for the little teaser trailer that they have for Dinnovator. So here we go. Same font. They still seem like they're playing around with some of the same graphics that they did with Waku Saver. But the graphics were pretty clean, at least when it comes to the transformation concepts. This might give you seizures though with all the damn bright lights and stuff, so I hope everybody's doing okay over there. Yeah, special effects were always clean and on point when it came to Waku Saver, so I have no doubts when it comes to the fight choreography and stuff and the special effects. It's gonna blow me away. I absolutely know it. So there you go, guys. Dinnovator. Premiering next Friday on Studio Giga over on their YouTube channel. For me, if you guys are interested in checking out their page, I pulled up Waku Saver and their videos for Waku Saver pull up. It might be like in Indonesian. I can't remember what the actual. I can't remember like the actual language it's in, unfortunately, but you can go ahead and pull it up. They do have this trailer over on their YouTube page for you guys to certainly check out if you'd like to. But it looks great, man. It looks great. So I am wondering if they are completely done with Waku Saver, if they've, if it was meant to be a five-parter and they're leaving us in a cliffhanger for a potential season 2, because it definitely feels very much like they've moved on to a new Tokusatsu series of theirs in regards to Dinnovator. So yeah, definitely go ahead and check it out. I will say this, when it comes to this series, the trailer looks great to me, if you ask me. For me, it's really going to come down to the idea of how, what's the storyline going to be? What's the motivation going to be? How much time are you going to have? Because Waku Saver, their episodes were literally about maybe 9 minutes long, 9 to 10 minutes long. It really was all about, how do you utilize your time wisely in regards to short episodes, but making them compelling enough for the characters, storyline, and even some of the action. And there were some episodes that they handled it relatively well. But I will say, if there was a downside to Waku Saver, maybe some of the performances, weren't necessarily the best. This does feel very sort of intro level type of tokusatsu stuff, just in regards to production, right? Like when you go into this type of stuff, especially for Studio Giga, don't expect necessarily like Kamen Rider budgets or Super Sentai budgets. This feels very much more like smaller scale type of stuff, but it really highlights in some really strong aspects of it with special effects and costume designs and even fight choreography. They tend to really nail that type of stuff down. But again, my biggest concern is certainly going to be, is the storyline going to captivate me? Are the characters going to be characters that I'm going to connect to? Just watching a trailer already, it seems as though they have maybe more acting experience than maybe even the Waku Saver group. Pink is just absolutely gorgeous in here. We even have a couple of photos of what the team is certainly going to look like also, for you guys to get a better look at the suits itself. They look sharp. The weapon selection's always spectacular too, if you ask me. So I'm going to be looking very forward to this. If anything, we probably will review it. We'll see how long the episodes itself certainly are, but it definitely is something that we'll probably review for the channel. I don't know if I'm going to make it an exclusive to Patreon or not, or maybe it's something that I will make available here on the YouTube page. We'll definitely see. But Waku Saver is up on our Patreon page if you guys are interested in checking it out and becoming a supporter. But we'll definitely dabble in some Dinnovator. But I want to know your thoughts. What do you guys think about this? Again, it is odd to see Studio Giga, an adult themed company, of adult film company really embarking in tokusatsu. I don't necessarily know if they're going to treat this series similar to how they did Waku Saver, or if this is them really like seriously taking themselves serious when it comes to making a tokusatsu series and trying to really bring that to life and see if this is something that they really want to do sort of full time. I don't know if that's something that they're really going to dabble in, but they've interested me enough with Waku Saver to definitely give Dinnovator a try. I just wish we got more information in regards to it, like just going online and trying to find news articles that are talking about it, giving us a little bit more insight. I'm not finding anything. It's really hard to kind of come across this stuff. Like, I don't know what the future of Waku Saver holds. They kind of left me on a cliffhanger with no real explanation as to what comes next. And now we've got this as a brand new trailer for a series that's going to be dropping next Friday, guys. So we'll definitely keep you posted with more Dinnovator as it winds up dropping. But I want to know your thoughts. What did you guys think, at least, of the teaser trailer? Has it at least interested you, piqued your curiosity? I definitely want to go ahead and know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. And let me see what you guys are saying. AJ, of course, in love with Pink already, I'm sure. He says, I do think it'll be the same formula as Waku Saver. Yeah, we'll see. I'm hoping if anything, it's maybe more episodes and at least maybe longer episodes. If you can give me 15-minute episodes, I might even take that. You know what I mean? So we'll see. AJ says, I still wish that the cast of Waku Saver was better looking. Yeah, you and me both, man. You and me both. Blossom says, Holy Tagashi, it's an adult film. It didn't look like one of those to me. Well, Waku Saver definitely has influences. I mean, if you watch the YouTube channel, you can definitely see some of the idea of adult film sort of influenced. Like I said, there's maybe a couple of upskirt shots sort of thing. There is like a butt shot here or there, but they leave it sort of tastefully done to where it's not like, you know, vulgar or anything like that. That's why it's up. At least side A is up on YouTube for people to watch. I don't even know what side B even looks like. I have not even seen side B whatsoever. But this one, when I look at this trailer, outside of like the short skirt and the thigh-high stockings that Pink is wearing, I don't know exactly how much of an adult theme influence is even in Dinnovator. I really don't know if that's the route that they're certainly going, if it's the same route that they went with Waku Saber, or if they're literally getting more serious about the idea of a tokusatsu type of series. You know what I mean? So I'll be interested to see what they wind up doing. I'll see what they're doing. Jared says the 3 suit colors look like Big Bad Beetleborgs, but Dinnovator sounds interesting. Yeah, and again, Big Bad Beetleborgs, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is was always adapted from the Metal Heroes concept over in Japan. So that's where they definitely pulled them from. I think, or maybe it was VR Troopers, or maybe it was both. I'm not quite sure. Might have used that concept of Metal Heroes. So that's probably why they look similar in that regards, because it's definitely taking influence from that time period. Brian Lee says, I think Waku Saver did 5 episodes and maybe Dinnovator is getting maybe 8 episodes, right? Yeah, so I'm assuming Waku Saver had 5 episodes because I haven't seen a new episode in about 2 weeks or so. The fact that they're going to be dropping Dinnovator as of next Friday, it feels like they've certainly have moved on. So I'm assuming maybe the first 5 episodes was just a season 1 of Waku Saver. Maybe it's something that they'll go ahead and tackle later on. I'm not quite sure, but I kind of want to see how that series ends. In regards to how many episodes Dinnovator is going to be, not quite sure. Again, I haven't found any articles in regards to it to kind of give us a better insight as to how many it's going to be. So hopefully before the episode drops on Friday, maybe we will hear some news. JB says, is that a porn company? I think it is. I do believe Studio Giga is. If you just look up Studio Giga on YouTube, just some of the covers for some of the photos that they've done. Yeah. So when I say adult film themed, yeah, that's definitely what I'm referring to. But again, the Waku Saber stuff was very sort of user or viewer friendly. I think that's why they posted it up on YouTube. Again, I haven't watched any of the other stuff from Studio Giga. Like this, Waku Saber is literally the first time I've ever heard of the studio, to be honest with you guys. So seeing just them attempting to do tokusatsu is pretty fascinating to me. And so for them, when I approach their series, I definitely do approach it very much like I would a Zenkaiger or anything Kamen Rider sort of related when I watch these episodes. You know, if you want to be in that same realm of tokusatsu, I'm a graded and view it just like any other tokusatsu series, even though Studio Giga seems to be maybe diving into that realm a little bit more seriously here with Dinnovator. But we'll see. We'll definitely see what happens here. All right, guys. With that out of the way, I will go ahead and take your guys' live viewer questions because it is that time of the episode here, guys, as we not only start wrapping up, but we start highlighting some of the things that you guys are saying. Real quick, though, Adam Pereira says, sorry, off topic. Did you see the Suicide Squad? Yes, and I had a blast with it. I truly did. Unapologetically violent, off the wall, great action, great performances, great actors. Huge fan of it. So much, in fact, that I'm going to go ahead and actually watch it a second time today. This time, we watched it on HBO Max, but I'm actually going to go ahead and check it out in the Dolby Cinema later on this evening. So I'm pretty pumped for it, man. I'm pretty pumped for it. Let's see here. Let me go ahead and pull these questions up. We got quite a few here, guys. Quite a few. Jessica Friedman, thank you, Jessica, for certainly coming through. I guess some of these are maybe what was sent over the previous week also before I left. Hey, Adam, would you like to see Legends of the White Dragon air on Netflix one day? And would you like to see Grace? I'm assuming you mean Grace Sterling and her team get their own series. Well, to the second half of your question, unfortunately, Grace's team did come to an untimely demise in regards to that. So it's probably not too much story that you can tell in that regards. I mean, if they want to do like a one-off, like a film or a movie of that encounter as like a spin-off film one day, I would absolutely love it, or even get to see it in like an animation form kind of brought to life. I would be down for that. I don't know if it'll be able to get its own series, but I wouldn't mind like an animated movie or a spin-off movie of Grace Sterling and her Zordon's Power Ranger team from the 60s, because I do think it's as an eye opener to certainly say the least. Would I like to see Legend of the White Dragon air on Netflix? Would I like to see it? Absolutely. I would definitely love to see it on Netflix one day. I don't know if it's going to get that far though or not. But we'll see what happens. I don't know if they're going to be posting it up on YouTube or where it's certainly going to be showcased at. But I wouldn't mind it seen on Netflix. Marcelino Vasquez, he says, in some ways, I think Day of Destiny not being canon to the main series is a good thing. Old actors could return to reprise their roles, but their characters could be different than the TV show counterparts. For example, if Austin St. John returns to reprise his role as Jason Day of Destiny, Jason could be the son of Lord Zed or become the White Ranger. I hope that simplifies things. We only have much more liberties to kind of play with the timeline and present some of our fan favorite actors that portrayed these characters, but bringing them back into different lights. So there definitely is there definitely is great ways that they can certainly pull off the idea of a non-canon sort of RPG show. And I do think that's a great example in how they do that. So I guess for me, if anything, if you want to go like the alternate storylines or alternate timeline sort of thing, right? Day of Destiny could be something that they could really sort of play with if they wanted to go ahead and still bring back old actors, but give them sort of new roles or same roles as characters, but also just as new characters. I think that would be really, really fun actually to be able to see. So you might be onto something there, Marcelino. He also says, "What are your thoughts on Akiba Ranger, the unofficial Sentai season?" So while I will say this, I have not watched the entirety of Akiba Ranger. I think I maybe only watched like the first two episodes of that series. So I can't give a full sort of review or full thoughts in regards to it. But for me, it definitely provided me with some chuckles. I definitely didn't mind. But for me, it just wasn't for me. I again, if it's unofficial, I don't necessarily didn't really care about it too much. So I think especially I think for me, because I think the time that it was released, I was just getting into Super Sentai. So I didn't necessarily pay it too much attention because I really wanted to focus on just what was legit, Super Sentai. I mean, I did like just the idea of Akiba Ranger at least being able to make fun of itself, right? And really have fun with that particular genre and not take itself too incredibly seriously. Like those are things that I appreciate the concept and the idea of what they were going for, but it's just something that never, for me at least, never stuck with me, because while I do like comedy, I do like my series to still take itself a little bit seriously. And with it not taking itself seriously, not being a part of official Super Sentai canon where my mindset was at the time, I didn't really pay too much attention to it. You know what I mean? So, but I know some people that watched Akiba Ranger absolutely loved it. I'm not shitting on it whatsoever. I just haven't had the opportunity to watch it all because it just didn't feel like it was personally for me. But maybe one day it's something that I'll go ahead and check it out. I love the costume designs. I truly did. The pink with the like sort of the pigtails and things like that. Even like the cool slick over sort of hair on the helmet. Really great designs. Not taking anything away from Akiba Ranger, but it just really just depends on what your flavor of tokusatsu shows are, right? Like if you like the spoof aspect of it, it might be just right up your alley. So definitely check it out. I would definitely recommend Akiba Ranger for those that want to see something unofficial from Sentai. When do you get fatigued from having too many team ups? And at what point do you say to yourself, I don't want any team ups for the next few years? This can range from Power Rangers, Super Sentai, and Kamen Rider. I don't know. I don't know if I get fatigued from crossover events, from like team ups. I think if you give me 1 to 2 a year, I'm perfectly okay with that. Especially if they're really well done. We just did Real Soldier versus Kara Major, I believe. Absolutely loved it. Thought that was great. So I'm okay with the idea of a team up 1 or 2 times a year. And maybe like a 1 or 2 parter episode or a movie. I'm okay with that. Because for me, if I can get 1 to 2 episodes of a team up, that's great. Because especially when it comes to Super Sentai, I've got 45 plus other episodes to kind of enjoy, right? That don't maybe necessarily focus on a team up. So it still doesn't take away from my enjoyment of the show. And same thing when it comes to Power Rangers. I think in Power Rangers, the idea, I don't want to say more team ups, but I think, again, if you do 1 team up a year that takes up a 2-parter episode or something like that, I'm okay with it. So I don't know if at any particular point in time I've ever gotten tired of team ups. I'm okay with it at least once to twice a year would be my limit, honestly. Doomsday's got a couple questions. Do you feel like Mr. Garcia favorites Izzy over Javier because he fully supports Izzy's sports talent, but not Javier's music talent? An example would be in Stego Search, where when Izzy got her arm injured by the monster, Mr. Garcia is like, "Oh my God, Izzy, are you okay?" But Javi got injured. His dad would probably be like, "Oh, Javi, man up." Quit being a baby about it. You're probably absolutely right in regards to that. Do I think he favorites Izzy over Javier? Yeah, I think that's almost definitely clear as day. The question really is why, right? Like, where's this animosity sort of coming from, right? We don't see her mother in their mother in the picture. Is it something along those lines, right? Was his mom connected more to, Javi than his dad? Girls tend to be daddy's girls, boys tend to be mama boys. You know what I'm saying? So I do wonder if there's anything to do with that. I wonder if Mr. Garcia, maybe he personally wanted a musical life for himself and wasn't able to sort of pursue it, but sees Javi's really good at it. So maybe there's some sort of, you know, maybe he resents his son to a certain extent. Maybe he doesn't see music as a man's sport, you know, as a manly thing to do, you know, and maybe he's got this like machismo aspect about him. That he, you know, it's hard to accept his son, whereas his daughter's at least doing things that he enjoys. Maybe Mr. Garcia is a sports guy, and so he connects more with Izzy. I'm not quite sure, but I do think that that's something that certainly will tackle and explore to us. So yeah, you can definitely see who Mr. Garcia's favorites are. What do you think made Time Force one of the best Power Rangers seasons of all time? I think a really strong villain in Rancic. I think the first episode that you come out and kill somebody is like just ballsy to me, if you ask me. I think it immediately just grabs your attention. It does tend to be a darker season for sure, and it definitely has a little bit of a romantic sort of aspect to the season that you know, the love story of Jen and Wes was certainly a focal point. I mean, we've seen the concept of a love story a little bit with Kim and Tommy, but this felt like it had elements of not only time cops, but also of a romance between the two. And I think the idea of elevating a Pink Ranger to have such a crucial role in the in the series, to the point of technically being the leader of that team, I think all that stuff really goes a long way in making that a very unique season that at the time was just what fans were looking for, you know, and I think it was just right up their alley. So I think they did some really great things that made it super successful. If we were to get a Forever Red 2, how do you think they'll be able to pull off the Red Wind Ranger due to the loss of Pua? Two things. One, I think either you bring him back as just a stunt actor, right? Never taking off his helmet, or maybe you just don't bring him back. Maybe you just have a quick scene of a memorial, right? Or maybe you bring back the Red Wind Ranger, but maybe it's a previous Ranger from this season that's now kind of stepped up into sort of that leadership role. Maybe somebody that we certainly were not expecting it to be, and the helmet comes off and it's somebody else, right? Was it Dustin, I believe? Maybe it's Dustin, for all we know, is the new Red Ranger, right? Getting the opportunity to kind of see him just thinking about who came before him and paying homage, like wishing that he was able to be here instead of him, sort of thing. So I do think that there's ways that you can still do it and pay homage to the passing of Pua. So yeah, it's definitely something I certainly would like to see. Whether or not it's going to happen, I highly doubt it, but it is something I personally would love to see. Power Rangers Legacy. He does say, sorry, Adam, for my annoyance with MMPR. I just want more seasons to be loved. I get it, man. I get it. I just think, you know, for me, and I get the idea of being annoyed with MMPR. Like, I do. And trust me when I say I definitely would love to see more seasons highlighted. That is a frustration, and I think a lot of fans certainly experience, because there's just so much extra lore out there. And great characters that should certainly be highlighted. So I get it. And I do think for Hasbro, I think Hasbro's aware of it too. I just think it's a very sort of balance that you kind of have to bring. You know what I mean? While I'm sure that they're definitely aware of the idea that fans want these other teams highlighted, I think that's probably why those things trickle out very slowly, because they know that fans want it. But I think they also realize that MMPR, despite people's you know, being over it to a certain extent, they know it's their breadwinner. You know, they know that that's what the people are certainly buying. Like, Hasbro wouldn't continue to push MMPR and all this stuff if they thought that it was going to be to the detriment of their investment in Power Rangers, you know? So I think, as somebody that I don't work for Hasbro, but I'm sure having to find that balance is super difficult, to certainly say the least. I would just say that, you know, even though they are giving us some MMPR stuff, maybe for us to be a little bit more open-minded in regards to how they're presenting MMPR to us, right? And I don't necessarily mean like just toy wise and stuff, but I just mean projects wise, you know, like even though it may be under the banner of MMPR, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to be the same old, same old. There are a ton of concepts and ideas of how to make changes to MMPR to make it either relevant with brand new characters or to explore concepts from MMPR that maybe we never got the opportunity to see before that still make MMPR rather fresh, right? I think we have to get over the idea of just looking at MMPR as a group of suits and Jason, Kimberly, Tommy, and, you know, Billy. Like, I think if we can expand our horizons to understand that it could, you know, MMPR could encompass other things outside of that, then maybe it's a little bit of an easier pill for us to swallow, you know? So I get the annoyance. I get the annoyance, Power Rangers Legacy. I truly do. I get the idea of wanting to see other series certainly loved. It is just going to be a really interesting balance to see how Hasbro kind of tackles that, because I do think that there's a way to still present MMPR to us just in really different formats. You know what I mean? What do you think Rancic, Master Org, why do you think were some of the best villains? I think just probably one, I feel like they probably push the envelope a lot more when it comes to their villainy. I think the idea that they have, that a lot of them have great sort of background histories to themselves, I think really does go sort of a long way. And I think also what also I think goes a long way for these characters is that, if I'm not mistaken, they all have like human counterparts to them, right? And the one thing that I've always said is that when it comes to when it comes to villains, I love human villains. I think the idea of human villains really works because it's not just, clearly it's not just a mask and makeup and things like that, but you can connect with a lot of these characters. You know, the fact that, you know, Master Org and Mesogog, they have these histories as humans. They have all this access baggage. They have kids, right? There's a lot of personal aspects of these characters that really go deep. And I think some that fans can really connect to, trying to see some of these tragic stories that have happened. It does carry a lot of human emotion that I think make these characters, these villains, as beloved as they certainly are. So when I push for human villains, it's because you can see their emotions on their face when they're expressing themselves. It usually means that they're not just some alien creatures from another planet here just to destroy. There's probably more layers to their character based off of their past. You know, who were they before they became these villains, wind up changing into these villains, sort of thing. So I really do think I think that does go a long way to say the least. What was your reaction growing up when you saw the command center was destroyed in the Turbo finale? And did you know it was setting up for Power Rangers in space? No, I don't believe that I did. I'm trying to remember, because I believe I fell off for Turbo, or maybe I can't remember what happened. I just remember seeing them going up into space or getting into the spaceship about to head into space. I'm trying to remember the finality of it, like how I watched it. I'm trying to, like, just back in the day, I'm trying to remember if they prepared us ahead of time for knowing, hey, we've got a brand new series that's coming, or when you see them go off into space, if it's like, is this the end of our series? Are we going to get a new one next? I can't remember how it was presented, but I know I was fascinated. I definitely was fascinated by it for sure. So no, I don't believe I remember them knowing that they were going to set up in space, unless they had a small trailer or a little teaser at the end. I can't remember off the top of my head. Legacy, which anniversary season did you prefer the most or better? Forever Red, Once a Ranger, Dimension in Danger, or Finders Keepers Grid Connection? For me, it's Forever Red. For me, I absolutely loved Forever Red. I thought it was absolutely great. I thought that just the fight choreography, the storytelling, how they get all the Rangers together and things like that, seeing the camaraderie between all the Rangers, them being able to pick a little bit fun, with each other. It felt very much more family oriented than anything else, and that maybe that's because of the fact that I grew up with all those Rangers and kind of seeing how they all come together as one. There was just something really, really special about it. And they really went out of their way to make the fight choreography just insane. It's just insane. And so, yeah, I absolutely love that. That's probably one of my favorites for sure. Jessica Friedman did have another question. She says, would you like to see a team of Rangers who have to save a planet other than Earth? And would you like to see Power Rangers Riverdale Nancy Drew like series one day? So yeah, I would love to see the opportunity of our Rangers to having to save other planets, very similar to what kind of Omega Rangers are doing now. It would be great to kind of take them off of Earth a little bit. So yeah, I would be completely down for that. And would I like to see a Power Rangers Riverdale sort of Nancy Drew series one day? Yeah, I would be down for that. I think you definitely would take that step into more of a teen drama, which I think would benefit a lot of these characters a little bit more. You can really focus on some real world storytelling, if you will, storylines for our characters to have to deal with. So yeah, I would be on board with that. I'm kind of curious if that's something that Jonathan Entwistle is trying to tap into. If you see some of his past work, I am kind of curious if there are elements, at least, of that he wants to go ahead and keep up with. We'll definitely see. Adam Pereira's got a couple questions. If you were to write your own Power Ranger movie or a series, what would be your story or theme? That I don't know, man. I have to sit down and really put together some concepts. I've never really thought about the idea of writing a Power Ranger movie, so I wouldn't even know where to necessarily begin. So I don't really have that answer off the top of my head. What are you most hyped about for JDF Bat in the Sun, Legends of the White Dragon? And did you know that the title of the film was similar to Jet Li's Legends of the Red Dragon? Oh, I did not even catch that, man. So thank you for bringing that up. What am I most hyped about? I definitely want to see JDF's growth. I want to see if he's really put in the work as an actor to give me a different take, right? Like, I want to see how different Eric Reed is from somebody like a Tommy Oliver, get to see Eric Reed's kind of backstory. I'm also really interested in the actor that they just brought on, Michael Dukakis, I believe his name was. I could be completely butchering his name. He's playing the mentor, I believe, of Eric Reed. I really want to see how that actually is brought to life, because I really want to see those two either fighting each other or really see him sort of drop some wisdom. So I'm really looking forward to his cameo in here, and the suit alone. I mean, the White Dragon suit, even the Dragon Prime suit that they showcased over his IG page, clean. It looks hella fantastic. I cannot wait to see what it looks like in action. And I'm also interested to see if JDF's daughter is in here, Jenna, in any particular way. You know, they've been elements of ideas of pushing Jenna to maybe eventually become a Power Ranger herself, which I would be completely on board with. So I kind of want to see, like, does she get any shine in this movie? Does she have any particular roles? Just to kind of see what she could potentially bring to a film or to a television show. I would be interested in that. And then, of course, just any other cameos that we might have, whether that be Sierra Hanna, Jason Fount. I want to see if there are other cameos that might pop up in here also. But I'm really looking forward to it. I'm actually really looking forward to White Dragon. The things that I've seen so far look great, and everything that JDF has talked about it has me fascinated. Any new information on Power Month? It's been super quiet. Do you think Hasbro will surprise us with new figures, or even Dino Fury episode 2 or more to Netflix, or just Nickelodeon getting the 9 to 11 we already know and make everyone else wait to September? I really do hope that we get at least an episode 12 by Netflix announced here this month. I don't really know the other themes or route that they're going to be going with for Power Month. Again, we highlighted this at the beginning. You know, TMNT week 1 was stellar. The internet was buzzed. It was hyped. Week 2 has been pretty dismal. My Twitter feed has been empty, has been relatively quiet with the exception of some of the announcements for the retro toys that I don't necessarily know is garnishing the fan favor. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are some people out there that love the retro stuff that they've gotten so far. It just feels like my Twitter feed has been really quiet. So it's definitely been a mixed bag. I'm not quite sure what we're going to be getting. I've been wanting to see a Dino Fury announcement. I haven't thought we were going to get any Power Ranger movie announcement or Jonathan Entwistle stuff. I do feel like they're probably holding off on that for the Hasbro Pulse Con that's certainly coming up later this year. But I don't have any other new information. So I don't know what next week is certainly going to be dabbling in, whether it's going to be new figures, a Dino Fury episode 12 announcement, maybe some video game stuff, maybe further insight into Day of Destiny. Maybe it'll be a game theme one of these weeks, because we've had MMPR or at least TMNT retro. Maybe the next one up is video games. I'm not quite sure, but we'll have to see. Let's see here. AJ's got a few questions. When you watch old seasons of Power Rangers, like the classic Saban and Disney era seasons, do you feel like some of the Sentai footage used as violent? I myself can tell, like Wild Force, for example, lots of Sentai footage feels very intense, especially when mixed together with original footage. Yeah, I mean, just the type of storytelling that Sentai certainly was back in the day was a much darker, took itself more seriously. So the intensity certainly is going to be there. Yeah, when you mix that in with original footage here from the States, it definitely makes sense that maybe some of those seasons maybe pushed itself a little bit harder in its intensity because of how Sentai footage just was back in the day. I mean, Sentai has definitely gone through several different iterations and how they want to kind of tell their stories. Like it's much more kid friendly these days than it was, say, even something as far as going back as like Gokaiger. You know, I feel like they've even maybe stepped off the gas a little bit, especially after Gokaiger and some of their series. But it definitely has made a more kid-friendly swerve over the past couple of years. So yeah, I do feel like when you look back at the classic and classic Saban and Disney era, a lot of that footage definitely is a little bit more intense, just because that's just their film making back then. What were some of the strong points you found in Beast Morphers and Dino Charge compared to the rest of the Neo Saban era seasons? Definitely much better character work, I felt like, especially when it comes to Dino Charge. I thought their characters were relatively compelling. Also, really cool design for, at least at the time, of the new command center and things like that. So really cool concepts in that regards. But yeah, Beast Morphers for me was definitely all about the characters, but it also felt like they took the handcuffs off a little bit when it comes to Beast Morphers. It felt like they were having a lot more fun with its actual storytelling than they were in previous seasons. And to me, it was certainly possible. So it felt like, compared to the other stuff that we've gotten, maybe just not as hands off or not as hands on as they were in previous Neo Saban eras. And I think that extra freedom really does go a long way and can showcase itself in a series like Beast Morphers. What do you love about Power Rangers Wild Force being the last of the classic Saban era, while also being sort of the move to Disney? And Ninja Storm being the first Disney era season to be filmed in New Zealand. Well, with Ninja Storm, it felt almost night and day to me. I really appreciated the change of scenery in being filmed in New Zealand. Ninja Storm did feel like an injection of life into the series, and I think really led the way for some great Disney era shows based off of that. But yeah, Ninja Storm, just that move alone, I think did wonders for them. New set design pieces and things like that too. It was just it was really great decision on their part. Yeah, Wild Force, I guess you're right. I guess it kind of does fit into that classic Saban while also kind of moving on to Disney Plus a little bit. It definitely had that element. I love the relationship between Blue and Black. I absolutely love those two. Even the Yellow Ranger actually was a pretty compelling characters. I was actually a big fan. I remember revisiting Wild Force, especially to go ahead and check out Forever Red once again, and I actually had a lot more fun rewatching this series than I thought that I would. Johnny Marrero, he says, hey, Adam, 3 questions. What do you think of Mighty Morphin Ninja Turtles figures and the Green Ranger Shredder? Remarkable. I think they did such a great job of adapting them from comic books to the series. AJ says, never give up. Yeah, never give up. It feels like it's a theme that to this day still works in Power Rangers for sure. Anytime I hear the term never give up, I literally go back to Wild Force all the time. It doesn't matter what movie I'm watching. If that's the theme of it, I always go back to Wild Force. Do you think we could still see an MMPR sequel comic happen? I do. If we don't get one in the next like 2 years, though, probably not. Do you think we'll hear news on the upcoming Power Ranger movie during Power Month? No, I don't. I think maybe they're holding off on that for the Hasbro PulseCon, for the big online convention that they're having. I think, if anything, maybe some development there before Power Month. No. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm not going to get my hopes up like that. Why do you think the Sixth Ranger or Extra Rangers always have one of the best introduction debuts and seem very powerful, but once they join the team, they start sucking? If you could put your finger on it, how do you think Jordan Fight's debut as Aeon? Yeah, I mean, I think it's, why do they always have the best introductions and debuts and seem very powerful? I think it's just because you just want to impress, you know? I think you just want to come out the gate swinging. Every time I've ever thought of a Sixth Ranger, I have always thought, if they needed a power up, this is their power up, right? Like if the team may not necessarily get an individual or team power up, but this is almost like a power up, getting an extra Ranger who can just mop the floor with its enemies, it feels like, from time to time. And they usually highlight like their strength, like the first few episodes, to kind of showcase like why you don't mess with them. But eventually it feels like the villains always tend to either catch up with their power set. It starts to kind of become more of a even playing field, if you will. So I don't mind it. I really do like it, because I've always looked at the Sixth Ranger as an additional power up to the team, even if the team itself isn't getting a power up. So you always gotta impress. You want to sell those toys. You know what I mean? If you could put your finger on it, how do you think Jordan Fight debuts as Aeon? Probably hitting on a girl. I do wonder if there's going to be some traits of Kanalo that are kind of carried over from Real Soldier. I mean, I feel like Jordan Fight's got the swagger and the charisma for it. So I wonder if he's going to be like, the smooth talker, the lady lover in this season. Who knows? I have no idea. But I'm hoping that he's definitely from RAFCON. I'm hoping that he too, like Aeon, maybe they've been kind of trapped in time or in some sort of stasis also, and kind of gotten awoken. So I'm hoping that it does add to some great flashbacks and lore building for RAFCON along with Zato. Real quick, Yusai says, what do you think we get first? An Asian Red Ranger leader, not counting Hyperforce, or a female Red Ranger leader for the main team? No combining, which I would love. An Asian female Red Ranger. No. Which one I think we're going to get first? I think a female Red Ranger. I do think a female Red Ranger might come first. We've got Brian. Brian's got a couple questions. How can we watch Power Rangers Super Mega Force and is not on Netflix and Hulu and Disney, and they air on YouTube Power Rangers very slowly? I don't know what to tell you, Brian. Super Mega Force. I don't know if it's not on Netflix anymore. I don't know if it's even on YouTube. Has it fully been uploaded on YouTube yet? I feel like they've been putting some Megaforce stuff up there. I don't know. He says that they are very slow to upload videos onto YouTube. I definitely agree with you there. So I don't know if the whole season of Super Megaforce is there. There may not be a way to watch it unless you like illegally download it, or maybe there's some sort of a website out there that has the Power Ranger episodes that you can certainly try and watch. Off the top of my head, though, I don't know. So Rob says Amazon Prime. I mean, you can try and check it out there. I don't know. I've never seen it on like a streaming service outside of Netflix, and with it not being on Netflix anymore, you know, I don't know where else. So we may be out of luck. Maybe out of luck, Brian, in regards to watching that season again, unless you have them on like DVD, like physical copy. He says go to Amazon Prime Video. I'm assuming maybe you might have to pay for it. I'm not sure, but check it out. And I don't know. It may be different regions also. So maybe it's on your Amazon Prime. Maybe it's not. Let me see if I can pull it up on my phone. Let me see. Power Rangers season 1. You got to buy it though. So yeah, if you feel like purchasing them, they might be up there, but you got to buy them though. They're definitely not for free. Like Power Rangers Super Mega Force, you can buy an episode for $3 a piece, or you can buy the entire season 1. Well, Super Mega Force is only one season, or you can buy the season for $10. So it's there. It's just a matter of if you want to pay for it. So yeah, there you go. All right, guys. I think other than that, I think that does it for all of our questions. Yeah, we had to play a little bit of catch up for quite some time. All right, guys. Yeah, I think that's everything for us. So listen, guys, in the future, again, if you have any live viewer questions, feel free to submit them over at any time to aplusmorphinominal@gmail.com. Again, aplusmorphinominal@gmail.com. We'll definitely tackle your live viewer questions at the end of our live episodes of A Plus More Phenomenal, guys, each and every week. So thank you guys for all the participation and all the questions that you guys went ahead and submitted over today. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for us here. It's good to be back. It's good to be talking with each and every one of you again. We do have a couple other projects that we have coming your way. We definitely are going to be having Zenkaiger reviews continuing headed your way. Dinnovator will probably be thrown up here on our channel also. Remember, beginning this week for our early access Patreon supporters, we're going to be doing Deca Ranger either next week or the following week. Dino Thunder watch-alongs, live watch-alongs will certainly be here for you guys as well. In regards to the next Kamen Rider series itself, I believe me, Indy, and Stuart have certainly talked about it. You guys know how I feel about Kamen Rider Revice. While I personally am not going to be speaking about Revice here on A Plus More Phenomenal, at least for my live episodes that I particularly do, I'm not going to be talking about it. But Stuart, I believe, will be reviewing Revice for you guys if you're interested. That is his decision. We have talked about it. If anything, we probably will put a disclaimer before our particular Kamen Rider Revice shows. But it's a series that's Stuart has told me he definitely wants to, he certainly wants to try and review. So I'm certainly going to let him. I'm not going to be one to force him to not enjoy something that he wants to. So, but outside of Stuart's Kamen Rider Revice stuff, you will not find it anywhere else on our channel. I can definitely guarantee you that. But other than that, guys, I think that's everything that we have planned for you guys certainly coming up, and hopefully plenty more as the season and this year certainly progresses. So I hope you guys continue to take care of yourselves out there. It's continuing to get more and more dangerous. So please be safe, mask up, wash your hands. Don't forget to take good care of yourselves. But other than that, guys, I think that's going to do it for us here. But we definitely will be back next week. So certainly stay tuned for that. And until next time, guys, I guess if anything, do me a big favor. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And as always, keep it A+. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.